Hey, it's podcast time, people. We survived the deluge, part 1 at least. Maybe we might get a little bit more. Hope everybody's safe out there in this crazy. I don't know. Is there a recorded history of a hurricane making it all the way to Knoxville before? Because
it's not technically a hurricane. Still.
Yeah, you're right. Anyway, Almost Agreement, everybody. almostagreement@gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. We are 1 month away from Hollerboo. Hollerboo.com. We need some Derby drivers. We need a few more vendors. If you're a food truck specifically, we really want to get another food truck or two in. You'll make your money, I promise. Sign up today. Get in there. We're going to have a great day. Great band lineup. We've got some good Derby drivers. We're looking for a couple more because it's more drivers, more fun. But get in there, have a good time. We're finalizing all the details. We've got some great stuff planned, and you should join us October 26th in the Great Happy Holler for Hollerboo. And anyway, we're Almost Agreement, almostagreement@gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. You can go to the website, almostagreement.com. You can check out what we got there, as well as the link to the Hollerboo as mentioned. And go to your favorite podcast provider, like us, friend us, follow us, share us, whatever social thing they do to push us up and get more people to see us, because we got stuff to talk about that's super important, and everybody needs to hear it, right? Hey, buddy, how's it going?
Hey.
So that was a real question. Like,
what was the question?
We have
yes, there's been remnants of a plethora of hurricanes.
Oh, that was the first question. I'm at the second question. But
what
sure.
was the second question?
The second question was, we have important thoughts that people need to hear.
Is that a question?
Yeah, don't you agree? That's kind of what I was. I don't remember what I said. We went over this last week.
Sounds like a statement.
I don't remember things after I say them. I think I said it as a question before. But yeah,
you got to inflect your voice at the very end.
But we had. I was watching the news on it. They basically said it's like, it might still be in a hurricane status all the way up to Atlanta. I don't know what the official was like with because there's.
Was it still an actual hurricane?
Yeah, like it had made groundfall. It had gotten into Georgia. It had gotten through the Panhandle and into Georgia, at least still as a hurricane.
Really?
But they said this thing might get all the way up to Atlanta while still being hurricane status. By the time it gets to Chattanooga, they're thinking it's going to be a tropical
depression
storm. And then the next level down, by the time it got to Knoxville, was a depression. But like I also was looking at the map earlier, like the eye looks like it's settled in like Louisville almost. Like I was looking at the radar and like all this swirling stuff, and it kind of the little spot in the middle seemed to be around between Louisville and Nashville. Yeah. Apparently, I don't know. I haven't seen anything specifically on it, but the map looks like Nashville got way worse than we did.
I don't think they got as much rain as we did. It seemed like the bulk of like the flooding and stuff was pretty much like to the east of us. Like I think Knoxville had like a little over 4 inches or something. I don't know if that was in the past 24 hours or the past 48.
Yeah, I don't know how that works.
I guess at least of this storm, I think they estimated a little over 4 inches.
I'm trying to figure out, like, I think we had 4 inches in the 3 days of all the rain we've gotten over the last 3 days.
Yeah. As I said, it could be just a part of this whole
because
race.
That's one of those weirdisms, because we're so a little inside baseball, if you ever want to plan a festival or something like that. There's event insurance, right? And so I'm going out to insurance brokers and talking to them about getting our event insurance. Standard event insurance is just like the normal stuff, liability, somebody gets hurt, something like that. There's insurance in place in case there's damage to property, specifically public property. The city of Knoxville, in this case, has to be one of the additionally insured. So if the event somehow, I don't know, some part of the event ends up knocking a signpost over and the city has to replace that signpost,
right?
That would come out of the insurance policy, stuff like that. Yeah. But then a lot of time, like a lot of companies that do event insurance also do what they call weather or cancellation insurance, because it's an outdoor event, and if it rains or snows or it's super windy or something like that and we have to cancel the event, there's a lot of money spent to get all the parts and pieces in place, and we can buy insurance against that.
Yeah.
And so we're shopping that, and so like you go through all the details of it. It's like, it's Lords of London who I'm in discussion with on our weather insurance for the event, and we're trying to figure out what the details are, like how much rain and in what period of time does the insurance kick in at? Like, if it's sprinkling rain, we can't cancel, or we can, but we're not going to get paid.
Right.
It's got to be pouring rain, but how much rain does it have to be for the cancellation to kick in for the insurance coverage? How much wind? Because that's really to me, the most likely scenario that I see of us having to cancel for weather will be wind. Like if it's just raining, like today without the wind, it would have sucked. it would have been really disappointing. It would have been a crappy event, and we would try to get the insurance to cover it and stuff like that. But I think we'd still put the event on and just get wet. But the wind,
still do the Derby.
Yeah, be fun in the rain actually. But
I guess it's just straights. I guess you're not doing any
not this
turns.
time. We got a big old bad turn this time. We're trying. Yeah,
stuck up on hay bales.
Yeah, that's part of the thing. Like I've got a couple of emails from people signing up for the Derby and the vendors, and like, this is a little expensive for something like this. It's like, I disagree. Like, one, you're gonna, like, the Derby side, because you're not selling anything, you're not going to make your money back as being participating in the event. But it's like, look, we're spending a minimum of $1,500 on hay bales.
Damn.
That's just out the window. Like, just to put the Derby on. I don't know if I want to say this out loud. I think if we were just to do the Derby and not do the concert and all the different other stuff we have going on, if we were just doing a straight Derby event, it's still into 5 figures in cost to put it on.
Maybe you could get some gyms to let you borrow just like crash pads or whatever. Those big ass.
Yeah, we shopped a bunch of stuff. We looked at we looked at some of the rental places that do inflatables and see if they had like inflatable barriers.
Right.
I mean, there's some, like, there are companies that make like specific, like, you've seen the Nitro Circus guys.
Yeah.
They've got like inflatable landing pads and all sorts of crazy crap.
Right.
But like there's something that makes it feel right with the hay bales, like just visually, like it makes it clear what you're doing here.
Right.
If you had these weird inflatable things all popping up over the place, it wouldn't.
Oh, I wouldn't think inflatable. I'm talking about kind of like the big foam pads, like the big crash pad that like pole vaulters use.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying too.
Like,
right,
like a thick foam.
Yeah, but either way, but there's something about the hay bales that make it legit to me.
But like inflatable, I don't think you'd want an inflatable wall to have your car go into to slow you down or stop you.
Yeah, I don't know. Like again, but the point being, it's like this. Like, just the Derby is at least I would say, if I was good at, like, some of it gets offset with some of the other stuff and all that. But if I did just a Derby by itself, I think that's a 6-figure event or a 5-figure event in cost. Just to get the police and city services that we're required to get by city ordinance, the road closure costs, the EMS we have to have on site by city ordinance and stuff like that. I'm not disagreeing with any of these things existing. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
I mean, fundamentally, I am, but just for the point of doing this, I understand that this is the way things need to work, and I acknowledge that, and I'm not complaining about the way it is. But it's expensive. It's expensive to put something like this on. Like, right. I mean,
but it's potential for making a good profit as well.
I mean, it is not for in and of itself, but it is for my business and the other business in the neighborhood. Right. And the goal is, like, for me, yes, there is a personal bottom line at play here. I don't deny that in any parts of the conversation. But
aside, you're building up recognition of the area,
right? And there's the secondary, like, my own bottom line is I'm having a good time doing these things, and I want to do more of them. And if other people want to put an event on and need some help and want a consultant, and I can make a couple bucks over there, sure, that'd be great. But also, like, I believe in that neighborhood. I believe in Knoxville. And the potential for Knoxville to really grow, and I believe in the reality that Knoxville is growing, and I believe that there is it is not an accident where certain things happen in Knoxville, how they happen in Knoxville. I believe those are choices made by individuals, elected and unelected, and the different games that we play in the back and forths of the community working together and stuff like that. There are things that play, right. There's
some of the things have just been in play for like 5 or 6 years.
Sure. I mean, there's decades
community planning of
right.
They decided years ago.
Right. There's zoning and there's all sorts of stuff, and
don't come into play until 5-10 years later.
Right. And so for me, truly honest bottom line is, yes, there is my own bottom line for it. But to me, I want Knoxville. I made this joke a couple weeks ago. I want to move out. First and foremost, I want to get out of here. There's too many people here. But I still want Knoxville to grow and thrive and be a cool place. And I think the way we grow and thrive and be a cool place is to lean into the different subcultures that kind of pop up in like any major city has. Because again, I think to me the example I lean on is you go down to Atlanta and you've got like downtown Atlanta proper, where the Roxy and if you're going to something at Phillips, or if like something big is at Phillips or one of those, some of their more major venues are in their downtown proper. But then you go to Little 5 Points, and that's kind of their That's their more gritty is the word I've been using a lot. Like it's a little more down to earth entertainment district in Little Five Points in Atlanta. And so you have Atlanta, it's a big city. You've got these different little dots of entertainment zones, and I think the Holler is just makes total sense to me to naturally be like like where it sits and what's already there and the people involved and all that kind of stuff. Seems to me like that would be a natural spot for a good up and coming entertainment area in Knoxville. We've got the only movie theater of its kind. Like the weird Central Cinema is great, weird little movie theater,
right.
Single screen, majority does indie flicks and stuff like that.
Right. There
are movies that you will not see anywhere, even on, you can't even rent or buy half of these movies that they come and bring in, and they do cool stuff where they very often they'll bring in actors and stuff like that are in these weird indie films and directors, and they'll do like basically like a DVD commentary live with the director while you watch it with them. And they're renowned for their horror fest that's coming up here in a couple weeks. For all the people that like the really weird cult classic horror films, that's a big thing that they do every year. We had Raven Records, we lost Raven Records a couple weeks ago. That was kind of a bummer, kind of inevitable. I think there has been a comeback of records as a
it's
as a platform.
Vinyl started coming back again,
but I think even with the return of vinyl as a platform that people like using, I don't think the brick and mortar retail was where people were shopping. I think it was a lot of like online rarities records and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't think people were going to the record store and flipping through the boxes and boxes looking for.
Some would, but it's a niche market.
Yeah, and it's not right. And I can see that it being a hard one to do in
yeah, but now you're getting ready to have to compete with a literal entertainment district.
If UT gets what they're asking for, yes.
Around the stadium.
Nah, that ain't worried.
It's not really an entertainment district.
It is. I mean, Barley's is like a key venue.
I'm talking about what they're going to add. I mean, Barley's is already there. I'm talking about businesses that are popping up. I thought it was geared to be somewhat of an entertainment district.
It will be, but it's going to be an entertainment district like Broadway and Nashville is an entertainment district. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there'll be venues, bars, and clubs.
Yeah, but it's like it's I don't know, Broadway and Nashville.
What sounds like you're wanting for the Happy Holler for there to be venues.
Yeah,
but places for people to go that
but I want
are
them
entertaining.
To be cool and interesting and neat, not some like Walmart of music store or music venue. Like I don't like Broadway. I don't know if you caught that when we were there. And it's not. I mean, I have a little issue with the genre, but like it's just this weird like. There's something.
I like that little bar right across the street. I'm surprised they were as slow as they were.
That was a cool place, yeah.
Being like right across from the place.
Right, and some of those will exist for sure. But like I think maybe a way to describe it, it's like, to me, a good scene doesn't have multi-million-dollar, famous people owned.
Yeah, multi-level bar.
Right. I mean, multi-level's cool. Like, I mean, I think I think that's one of the cool things that's going on down in Market Square right now. You got these rooftop bars on a number of places down there. Yeah. But, it's not, I mean, Morgan Wallen's being we don't have Morgan Wallen's in Market Square. We don't have Morgan Wallen, but I could see something like a Morgan Wallen's going to the Old City as this transition the Old City's doing. That's what I think the Old City's going to turn into as the stadium gets going and all the stuff gets going on around it. Yeah. I think it's going to turn into a Morgan Wallen's or a Aldean's. That's where we went, right? Aldean's, where we had dinner.
I can't remember.
Or your Clint Blacks, or it's just going to be some
one of those no talent ass clowns.
Or the talented ones. I don't really care. It's not a talent conversation. It's just, right. But it's just going to turn into one of those. That's the direction I feel like it's going. And so all that is cool about the Old City is going to die as the stadium gets finished and it makes its transition. And that's where I think that's where Holler can come in to replace. It could replace what the Old City used to be. But
that's under the assumption that this new entertainment district is going to have this, new, commercialized.
I mean, well, number one,
super commercialized, I guess.
Okay, so
could very well be, some Boyd-owned restaurants.
It is going to be, and there's going to be a Burleson-owned restaurant down there. And I mean, hell, you have
bars and venues.
You've got Boyd's Jig and Reel right there already. I don't know who owns Patrick Sullivan's nowadays, but
is it still there? No,
the building is. It's not the same business.
Yeah, somebody told me it's actually pretty decent. Lonesome Dove or something Dove. Somebody said it was actually pretty good food. I haven't been in there in a long time.
Yeah, and so I don't know. That's my take on it. I feel like it's gonna get a little too, like, for lack of a better word, like it's gonna get a little too clean.
It's possible.
And to me, there's a fine line, because I'm sitting here, with my neighbors trying to figure out how we're going to handle the homelessness situation.
There's no guarantee. It's close enough to the old city. The old city doesn't exactly look pristine and clean, so they may try to have a little bit of a transition.
Oh, I think the old city is getting clean fast. They've already started on a lot of stuff. Yeah. Barley's, like I said, Barley's still there, but so what used to be 2 parking lots around Barley's is now a hotel and an apartment complex, like a 5- and 6-story one, respectively. And that apartment complex.
Right across from
massive. Behind
Barley's.
And they're about to start on the hotel. Like, it's a separate building that's going in there. There was that weird that lot that they did Sundown in that one year.
Right. That parking lot.
That's that apartment complex now. But that's a huge apartment complex. When's the last time you've been down there?
I drove through it, I think, earlier this year.
Okay, well, we need to do a drive-through together and see if I could show you what I'm talking about. Yeah. Like, it's
I think just like the facade, still have a lot of that same kind of older brick
style. There's a little bit.
I
mean, you got the Java, which is like the old city Java, which has been there for fuck ever,
right?
Which is a great little old thing. But even that one, it did have, like, the one club it did regularly have that's changed names like 50 times. It was always that dirty club. Anyway, I don't know. Maybe I'm projecting a super niche image of what I see there, because again, Little 5 Points isn't bar club venue. Little 5 Points is venue, and then a restaurant, and then I think there's like a bookstore down there. It's a small but like active little commercial.
Yeah, but it's almost all the houses, not necessarily big houses, kind of like Fifth and Gill, but it's kind of in that same kind of era of housing.
It's got
there's a lot smaller houses.
A lot of small houses that have been there forever.
Right.
There's a college. There's a small college or something that's right in the edge there, or something like that, or a church, or maybe a religious college. I don't remember what it was. Okay. It's right across the street from the Ryder Playhouse. Like, that's where we picked up our Uber.
There might be a church around there. Like, yeah, probably.
Well, there's many churches, but I'm saying like right across the street. But anyway, like, and so but to all that little chit chat is like, as much as I acknowledge that there is a direct bottom line for me, I've also am very careful to make sure that the decisions I'm making on behalf of the event are for the event and the neighborhood as a whole, and not for my individual business. Because at the end of the day, this is a rising tide situation. And so I think the better I can make the event, the better we're going to do as a business, regardless of whether anything I do at the event is directly related to the business or not. And so I'm focused on that aspect of it, personally. And then I'm starting to expand it out. I'm going to have a whole Central Corridor Coalition. I introduced that to the first couple of people this last week, because we have to figure out something to do with the homeless situation. It's a problem. I went to the KPD Eastern District Commanders Forum. It's an interesting event last night.
Yeah. How many people showed up?
There were 4 regular human beings. There were like 7 people from 1 NGO, 2 city councilors, and like 10 cops.
I thought you said there was a bunch of people on Skype and Zoom.
No, it's just a handful of us in the room. Like, it's fun. Like, I know by name, and they know me by name. Like, the top brass of the Eastern District Command. But it's also, we're in Eastern. Like, we are the Happy Holler is in the Eastern District of the way KPD split their stuff up, and what else is in the Eastern District? The actual violent parts of Knoxville. And so that's where most of their resources end up, which in a very cool, very positive note on that is, and he was happy to brag about it, Mr. Long, in his opening, is that there traditionally in the city of Knoxville, there are 7.5 blocks in the MLK, Magnolia, Cherry Street area that is the number one area for violent crime in Knoxville. Has been the number one area for violent crime in Knoxville for 20 years. So they started a new initiative where it's literally just like be around, hang out, talk to people. Engage with the community, which is an interesting phrase, but engage with the community, and there have been 0. I don't remember exactly what the list is included in violent crimes in the 11 months since they started this program. It went from like all the time to 0 in basically the last year.
That's good.
And more interestingly, and I'm curious exactly where the data comes from, but more interestingly is what what they were concerned. One of the biggest concerns when you see something like that on paper is that you see it get deferred to somewhere else. And at least as of right now, they're not seeing any direct correlation that for every one thing that doesn't happen down there,
right, it's just happening 3 blocks over.
Right, it's happening somewhere else. So that's a positive.
That's what a lot of police forces, I think rightfully tried to push towards and kind of go back to was actual community policing, to where you had local cops that the neighborhood knew.
Yeah, I mean, somebody could be like, hey, man, there's some shit going on that's been going on for a couple of days over here. Can you, like, they can't do anything per se directly off of just some bit of intel, but they can add that to a list of other bits of information and start to paint a picture of something that they can't look into directly until they have probable cause.
He's got a report of like, hey, this is something that's, twice a week we're getting a report of this thing happening in this area.
Right. And so it's a weird sensation for me because I'm sitting there listening. It's like, that's cool. But that's exactly what I want. But except I just don't have violent crime I'm trying to chase off. I just have homeless people and other issues.
Right.
We don't have a lot of criminality as far as, we had one stolen car that I know of, and that's the whole weird story. But for the most part, it's just, the biggest single situation we've had is we have a local schizophrenic. We've talked about this before. When he's on his meds, he's actually really nice. He often apologizes because he knows he does some crazy shit when he's off his meds. And then he doesn't get his meds, and then he does some crazy shit. And he chased one of the girls that works down in the neighborhood down the street one morning and scared the shit out of her.
Yeah.
But that, that sucks. But that was it. Like, that's the worst we've had. Now, on a more, indirect note, it does affect business just with general presence, because there are days you go down there, especially on certain days of the week, where there's more activity than there's more homeless activity than not. Where you walk down the street and you're by yourself, and you look around and there's two people who are obviously homeless on this bench, 2 people who are obviously homeless on that bench, 3 guys curled up underneath somebody's deck over here, 4 or 5 people sitting over there. It's not an inviting place to go and do commerce, or even if or work for that matter. I see that and I go, I have employees that have to come in or leave and have to wade through this, and that sucks.
Yeah.
Now, it's not violent crime, which is good, but it's also, one guy,
a detractor. Yeah.
And right.
There were times I was less apt to go down to the old city just because I kept getting hit up all the time for panhandlers.
Right.
And I got tired. I was like, I don't really want to go down to the old city anymore. Like, the Barley's is cool, but unless I can park right next to it,
sure, I
don't feel like having to walk 2
blocks.
And
that's a different district of KPD, but over the last decade or so, there's been concerted effort by the city to quell that, and so there are still some hanging out. But I think it's 2-part. I think, to me, number 1A, and this is what I try to tell everybody, and it's a chicken or the egg kind of conversation, but it's a hard one. It's like, the easiest, best way to fix it is to just have people down there. But how do you get people to come down there when they don't want to be uncomfortable? They don't want to be hassled and panhandled to, or, God forbid, chased down the street by the one schizophrenic we have in the neighborhood or something like that. To me, because you still go down, I know you haven't been down there in a while, but you go down to Market Square, Crutch Park. There's a handful. There's a good some that live and reside in the area and come out to panhandle or busk or whatever they do. But it's when you're down on Market Square and there's a couple hundred people down on Market Square and there's 5 or 6 homeless people, they kind of blend out. It doesn't concern you, because if something crazy were to happen, you have 99 other people around you. It's not you by yourself.
Right.
And so but how do you get more people to come hang out and spend time and spend money and do commerce down there? It's a chicken or the egg. That's one of the things we've got to figure out. So that's one of the things I'm working on with the coalition, is try to get, maybe some some tax incentives for some of the people that own property down there to do something with it instead of just banking it like they've been. We've got a number of banked properties that are not helpful in the neighborhood. Don't like that. Anyway, I didn't mean to turn this into a whole Holler Brew discussion. But the KBD forum thing was pretty interesting, albeit a little disappointing that there was only 3 other regular human beings in the room of 20 people. Everybody else was what I guess I haven't seen Gwen McKenzie in a while. I got to see Gwen McKenzie. Haven't talked to her in a little bit.
Yeah.
One of the people from CARM got a little upset with me because apparently CARM runs about 70% capacity.
Okay.
On an average, and it's like, well, what do we got to do to try to get that other 30% filled up? And the answer is nobody. The 70% that do stay there are willing to conform to the standards that CARM requires. The however many people that don't bother going down to CARM anymore because they can't get in because of whatever CARM's rules are.
Yeah.
And so I asked the question, and I tried to ask it as a question, and maybe I was being a little aggressive. I don't think I was. But I asked the question. Lauren Ryder was down there as well. I asked her, I was like, is there anything the city could do to encourage? And the guy from CARM was like, absolutely not. And I was like, okay, calm yourself, man. I was just asking. And Lauren answered the question because the question was, and then Lauren was like, no, we can't. They're a private entity. They don't get any city tax funds. At least there's nothing we can do to try to encourage them other than to ask them nicely. But if they want their standard, they keep their standard. It's like, okay, fine with me.
So you ever wanting the government to force a business to do something?
If that business was taking city funds to do their activity, yeah, I could be okay with that.
Okay.
Where the answer is no, they're not taking tax dollars, then okay, then they can do whatever they can run their business how they like. But yes, when we have a lot of people on the street that need a place to stay for the night, and we have I don't know how many beds empty because the place refuses to let them in,
right? And
our tax dollars are going to help keep that place running. I think it's a fair conversation to at least have a conversation about like what can we do to get.
They do in the wintertime, so I mean there are special occasions or emergencies or whatever they put out. I know for freezing temperatures, I think they put out like the white flag, I think they call it. Where they're pretty much like, hey, they've suspended the rules. They're like, please just come in and stay warm.
Well, and the city put a thing in. The last winter was the first one, and there was this. I think it was a city-county combined program. I can't recall exactly. The city-county had a combined program where there was a number of churches throughout the county who were had agreed to, when called for, open their facilities to people for the extreme cold nights or whatever. There was a little bit of a clusterfuck, and people got pissed off about it. But it's like.
I'm trying to think. There's some program. It was like Lost Sheep or something that does that. I remember like years ago, but it was weird. It was a big ass church, but they would only take in like one family for like a weekend. But they let them stay there. They had access to like showers and whatnot. I just thought it was odd. I was like, this is a big, pretty decent sized church. But they would just take in one family. They're like, hey, we're hosting a family this weekend.
Well, I
was like, you probably could have fit like 5 or 10 families in here.
Now I would get on board with, since they don't pay taxes, that in order to continue their tax exempt status, maybe they should have to step their fucking game up. I could be okay with the government insisting upon something like that.
It was weird. Like I said, I think it was through like an organization that was called like Lost Sheep or whatever, like Lost Sheep Ministries. But
it's it is a big deal. Like there's a lot of there's 1,000 different parts and pieces to this to this situation, and for me, I'm trying to play both sides of it because some of it's just. I'm an enraged business owner that has to chase people out from underneath my deck where my customers are trying to enjoy themselves, or I have to, worry about my staff coming and going at certain hours and stuff like that. And part of it's just I don't fucking care where they go, get them out of here. It's, that's part of how I feel about it. But I also I understand that it's more complicated than that. I can't tell KPD just to arrest people. That's not how it works. Right. I can't ask the city to change a law to make it so KPD can arrest people. It's going to have to be an effort of trying to bring people together to figure out programs and bits and bobs and what can we do. And that's going to be the game. And so for me, the group I'm trying to put together is more a political advocacy group than it is a direct, like, we're going to try to get candidates that are on board with trying to move things around for us. We're going to advocate for the city to do certain things. I think one of the things the city has room to grow on, and I'm trying to, Lauren's getting me a meeting with the head of this, because it is an apartment in the city that exists. I forgot the name of the department or whatever, but like coordinating, seeing if we can't do some coordination between all the different advocacy and philanthropic groups that deal in the homelessness. See if we can coordinate some of the efforts to try to, I don't know, like what are again, I could be totally wrong about this, but my feel on it is there is there's a lot of food that goes out, and so there is no shortage of food. It's just wandering to the different place to get the food for the night of the week. And I feel like that's the simple one. If somebody wants to get involved, it's like, hey, we want to start a group to help the homeless. Let's collect food and do a food pantry or whatever. It's like, we don't need another food pantry. Does the city have the right to refuse that? Probably not explicitly, but it's like, hey, if you want to get involved, this is a gap. Like here's all the agencies that we have working on it. Here's a gap we found.
Yeah.
Let's put a call out to different groups that might be interested and make sense to. Let's put a call out and say, hey, we found this gap. Who wants to step up and fill this gap? And maybe that's a way to try to do something instead of just another food pantry or another clothes thing or whatever. So anyway, I don't know. It's going to be a long process. I'm sure we'll talk about it a bunch on the show because I don't know.
Okay.
I'm into it.
These are all the important things we wanted to talk about.
Oh, you got something unimportant you want to bring up?
No. I was just making fun of the intro of like, we got important things to talk about.
I mean, we do. Like, so last week we talked about the cat buses. We're talking about going to cashless. They've decided not to. They're going to keep the cash system in play. Exact
change only, I think was what I read.
Yeah. So keep your dollar bills handy, everybody. You got a $5, you're paying $5 for a bus ride. If you got a $1, you're paying $1 for a bus ride. That's how it's going to go. We talked a little bit about the KPD's TLC program. That's what they call that. That's their officer presence program. Mm-hmm. But TLC is their nickname for it. The Lady Plowman is extending her chancellorship of the Knoxville campus for another 5 years.
I thought I saw something about that.
I mean, it's kind of a moot point because one, it's not a contract job. She doesn't have a 5-year contract that she's finishing up her first 5 years. She basically said, "Yeah, I want to stick around for 5 more years." But she's an at-will employee.
Yes, yeah.
If Boyd and the Tennessee and the board of the university want to get rid of her, they can get rid of her whenever they want.
Yeah,
it's not like Coach Pruitt. If they want to fire Coach Pruitt, they have to pay out. There's a buyout in the contract and all that kind of crap. But she wants to stay. Boyd and her have done a lot of positive work, and they're happy with where things are, and so she's going to stay for a couple more years.
I think Pruitt lost his lawsuit to get his money back
from
the university.
UT?
Yeah,
he was Pruitt. Oh yeah, we're on Heupel now. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Yeah,
sorry. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I feel bad. I don't feel bad. We had a carousel for the while.
Why do I know more about sports than you do on this one thing? Yeah, he was the one that got was allegedly doing, I think it was improper scouting or something like that.
Yeah, I do recall it a little bit.
I think they were able to fire him for cause, so they didn't have to pay out like the rest of his contract.
I don't know. I wonder what he's doing now. I'm sure he's coaching somewhere still, but
it usually happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, lay low for a year, and then you can go work at another college. Yeah. Maybe people will forget about it.
Maybe not even lay low for a year. Just, hey, come over here. I mean, I don't think...
you just go to a Division II school or something.
Yeah, I don't think... or you don't go back to head coaching. You go back... I think for him, we got him from Alabama as a defensive coordinator. He probably got hired as a defensive coordinator somewhere else.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe out west or something like that. Give a little bit of space. But, I mean... I don't know. That's part of college ball. Like that, we talked a little bit last week. It seems like the NCAA, which is going to allow just direct payment to players from the university, which I think is the way they should have done any payment to the players in the first place. But
did I send you that one article about? I think it's like UNLV. There was a player that has basically said he's not going to play this year until he gets paid. It was a big pay dispute. The college has basically said we've already paid out what we're going to pay.
So my understanding of the story is there's one unknown fact at play is that the player's argument is that he said he was guaranteed X in NIL deals.
Yeah, it was like an assistant coach that had told him this or something.
Right, and so he came over there, and so there's a couple of kind of in the weeds parts of it. One of it, you could play up to 4 games on a red shirt and not lose your red shirt. And so red shirt,
which I think he stayed within.
Right. And so he played the first couple games and played well. And so there's a little confusion on that first detail though. It's like if he was told he was going to get X and not, okay, I can see you making the argument and pitching the fit. But there's also I've heard, and this is from Shannon Sharper, one of the NFL guys on one of the talk shows that was talking about it. And he's like, but it's also like, if they did come through with what they promised you, but your value went up because of how well you're playing, and now you're trying to renegotiate in the middle of the season because you want more,
right? Then
you're the asshole in the play. And so I'm not sure. I haven't heard definitively whether it's he's trying to hold out for more money or if he's trying to hold out for what he was told he was going to get.
It sounded like he was trying to hold out for what he was getting, but it also kind of sounded like they weren't paying him, I guess, as quickly as he thought. They were like, okay, we're going to give you like $3,000 a month. And he was like, you told me you're going to give me like $100,000. Like, what do you mean you're going to give me $3,000 a month or whatever?
Well, because again, I haven't super followed the story, but I don't know how it works. Like the best example I can think of was when we looked into hiring a radio DJ as a brand ambassador or whatever the title was. And that was one of those, like, we paid a chunk up front and then we paid a monthly.
Right.
And so it's like, well, again, that's on you, kid. If there's a contract and if you signed a royalties deal with somebody, or if you signed a contract to be the face of, Brothers Betting or whatever the fuck it is, what's in the paperwork that has, because again, like that's the weird thing about the NIL part of the deal is that why it shouldn't go through the school anyway. Like, why does the school have any say in that part of it anyway? That seems crazy to me. Like, I could see maybe have like
I think advertisers I think would pay the players directly, but I think as far as for like the name and likeness, I think that goes more through the school, because I think that's more of like the school,
right? The jersey shop, basically. Right. I get that part, but that's not going.
Or if because the team gets money, I guess, for playing on like ESPN or ABC or whatever. Don't they get some kind of money for being featured?
Yeah, they get. I mean, they get TV, right? They get TV pay, but I don't know. I
think those would be the things that are coming, because that money's coming into the school, so it's going to get dispersed from the school.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Paying out to the players for their name and likeness for the money that was earned for their play.
I don't think that's. I see where you're going with it, but I do not think that's how it works.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a new thing with the whole NIL, because apparently that thing kind of started, or even with Tennessee. Saw a story like with Tennessee starting to charge the 10% ticket fee. They're like, it was kind of a waiting game, or the article was kind of a waiting game of how many more schools are going to try to do this, or will there be more schools that do this?
UT, basically, the way I understand UT's plan in this is that next year we're going to start paying players because we can, and in order to offset that, we're going to charge extra. And that's all. That's what they're doing, and it's not dissimilar to some of the stuff that's going on with me at the shop with the hemp game. Like, it is unclear specifically what the rules are going to be, and at some point when you're sitting in this murky gray land, you just have to make a decision to move forward with what you want to do in the way you understand what's going on with the rules. So for us, for example. It seemed that when the rules first came out, we took the candy jar out, right? So we do the candy shop style flour. If you come into our shop, you can buy a gram of flour. You pick it out of the candy shop. I know you know this. You work there. All of our listeners may not know this. Okay. So you come in. I've got jars of flour, and you can pick out what you want, and we can fill a bag with it, and we sell it to you by the gram. Discounts on certain volumes, blah, 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 all this kind of shit. It seemed through the original reading that was going to be a problem. And so we started working out. I started working that out of our system and working into prepackaged product. And so it's a finished product in the bag, 1 gram, 5 gram bags, whatever. 3.5 gram bags, it's weed. So you got to do it in 8s and 7s because that's how potheads do shit. Quarters, 8s.
You still sell it by the gram.
I know, but like
you can package it however you want.
I know, but I had a whole conversation with some of the staff about this. I was like, would it be weird to do a 2 gram package? And they're like, not really. Would it be weird to do a 3? Yeah, if you're going to do a 3, you might as well do a 3.5. Why? Because everybody knows an 1/8 or an 1/8. Yeah,
right.
It's like, yeah, but it's 1/8 of an ounce. I'm selling 3 grams. That's not 1/8 of an ounce. That's a little less. Anyway, doesn't matter. My point being is that's what I think UT is doing right now. Their interpretation of what's going to happen as this lawsuit finishes out and all that kind of crap is that they're going to be allowed to directly pay players, and so their business strategy in this is that they're going to announce, hey. You come play at UT, we're going to pay you. These other schools are still trying to figure out what they're going to do about this. We're already on it. Get here, get paid, let's go.
Yeah. I don't know. I really don't like it at all.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm saying that's what I think they're doing, and I think they're going ahead and
No, I'm just saying just this whole like general premise of paying college players. So I was trying to think of how Canada does it with their kind of like their junior leagues or whatever, where you literally have like 15, 16-year-olds that are playing quote unquote professional hockey.
That's a good question. But
I did see something recently, like the NCAA changed their rules because there was I guess for the longest time, like Canadian players, that had been playing in these leagues, like the like QMHL and like the Western Hockey League and stuff, that are kind of semi-professional leagues, where they basically said, a player couldn't come out of there and then go to an NCAA school because NCAA has rules against professionals coming to play.
Right, yeah.
But again, these are like 16, 17-year-olds that are trying to.
I don't know. It's a good question. I mean,
but I wonder if
the inverse of the question,
if we could do something like that here, to where we have kind of like minor league, professional leagues. Like if you want to be a player and do that shit, like we have the Under Armour leagues that I didn't really realize existed, but you have high schoolers that are playing in these like highly competitive leagues and with like merchandise deals and stuff like that, most likely too.
For football,
basketball.
Oh, yeah. I don't know basketball well.
It happens in football too.
I mean, I've made the argument.
Baseball
on the show,
has like their traveling leagues and things like that.
I made the argument on the show. I'll go back to that baseball one in a second. Right. But I made the argument on the show. Like, I really wish when The Rock bought the XFL, he would have rebranded and built it as a developmental league, and do exactly what UT's about to start doing, but do that where it's like you don't have to go to class, you don't have to worry about any of that shit. You want to play football, you come play football. I'll pay you to play football if you're good enough. After a term here, right. There's got to be a way. But again, I don't know what the NFL rules are too. The NFL rules might be, like at least if you're a United States, whatever, you can't have played professional ball prior to entering the draft. Which again, as a player, that's a bonus. Actually, if you're a player that's good, if you went to if there was a D League that existed,
you don't just have to go to the draft, but you could still just get signed as a free agent.
You get signed as a free agent, which that's in your benefit as a player. So I would bet you the NFL would pretty quickly make it so if a D League developed specifically in that high school, post-high school developmental period, that I bet the NFL would be like, hey, if they're with the D League from 2 to 4 years, if they want to leave and come to the NFL, they have to enter the draft, because the league the teams love the draft, because you get, some of these, like CJ Stroud right now, he's in his third year, he's in his last year of his rookie contract. There's a maximum rookie contract. You get drafted at number one, it's a bigger contract. But depending on where you get drafted is the maximum rookie contract you can get. And so there are players that are technically worth more but are stuck in their rookie contract because they can't, because that's the way the NFL works.
I don't know. It's funny because I really don't really care about college football sports, but I tend to agree with the whole kind of talk of the NAL stuff. I do tend to agree, I guess, with the NCAA that I think college sports should be more of like amateurism. I understand they're getting paid and they're on TV, or they're playing for TV, and the teams are getting money. Schools are getting money. For
I agree with that, but that's the problem I have with it. It is a multi-billion-dollar business, and the actual product gets nothing.
But who made it a multi-billion-dollar? It's not the schools that really did this.
I don't know who do you think made it a multi-billion-dollar business?
Not just advertising industry, sports networks.
Okay, but that's fine. But literally the product of the business makes no money. That's crazy. I mean, I agree with you that it is a marketing, it's, I don't know if I think the sport at large is the best sport in the United States series right now. I think people like the game. I think you add in that nostalgia if you're a local and it's your local team, or you add in that nostalgia of if you went to that school, and some of that stuff that they do.
I think I said, I sent it in a text. I think this is more just kind of making the whole bribing thing legal.
Sure.
I mean, it was going on before. People would occasionally get caught, but everybody knew that most people were still doing it.
Yeah, but
as far as paying players to come, I think it's going to make the sporting system that much more lopsided. I mean, you already have powerhouse teams, to where this is only just going to make it worse.
That was my first take on it, and it hasn't happened yet. But we've only had the NIL.
It's only going to take a few seasons of
high
funds coming in, to where those schools now have more money to offer big name players to come and play.
I agree. But at least as far as I could tell so far, my fear in that in NIL didn't happen. Because I would figure like your UCLA's. I thought Georgia Tech had an avenue to become a powerhouse football school out of nowhere, because I would think your ability to raise funds for players to get paid for advertising would be easier and more lucrative in larger markets. I mean, I would just think, I would just, because you have more options. Because it's not that you have more top end. You don't have more top end. Like at the end of the day, I mean, actually you do a little bit because you're Atlanta. I don't know what's the big industry in Atlanta. What Delta has headquarters there, CNN has headquarters there. You know, so if CNN or Delta are some of the big businesses that operate out of that town want to pay players to do an ad or whatever, that gets your top end players. But you also have a much
but at the same time, in that market, how many people in the Metro Atlanta area know the big name Georgia Tech players? I'm not saying it. I don't want to discount their popularity within the city, but more people in Atlanta are going to know Georgia players versus Georgia Tech players.
Ooh,
and it's not even a school that's in that town.
I don't know if
it's not that far away.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but again, that's a result of the current status of Georgia. I think you could play that game though, but because again, I think the more important part of my point is you have the depth. You have so many more businesses that would be willing to pay a player to advertise them for them, so you can have.
So you think it'd be more of colleges that are in like big cities that have an advertising market?
I think it'd be easier for those schools to do it because it's not about the top tier; it's about the second and third tier players, which are important in college football. The way college football works, you don't have
right. Just a star quarterback isn't going to get you everywhere,
right? And so having the ability to have like your second, third tier players get deals to make a decent amount of money. Because the market is so massive, because it is a large city, I think that's where the value would be in that system. But again, I don't know. It hadn't seemed to pan out that way in the short term.
Well, then I'd say cancel sports scholarships then. If you're going to pay them, then they pay to go to school.
Which again, that's why that's why I want a developmental league. Forget the schooling part of it. Nobody cares about it anyway.
Sure.
Some kids do. To be fair, some kids do.
Right.
You know, and Dobbs,
some truly take advantage of it. That was one thing I liked in some little speech I saw of Deion Sanders doing. Was just fucking like bitching him out. He's like, I'm hearing from y'all's teachers that you guys are like, not paying attention in class. You're getting C's, B minuses or whatever. He's like, basically, most of you guys, you're going to Colorado State or whatever he coaches at.
Colorado,
yeah. It's like you guys aren't going on to, or most of you guys aren't going on to the NFL. Like, sorry.
Yeah, but him,
like, use your time to take this education and take it seriously.
Which is funny because two of his kids that are playing for him there are like 3 and 6 in the highest paid college athletes right now.
Just with NIL deals, or
because he's brought them along with him. There's a KFC. He's got a KFC thing going on right now, which is super racist, but whatever. He's got a KFC ad series right now where it's him and his boys, and they're all getting paid fat for these KFC commercials. Have you seen the new Snoop series?
I don't think so.
For the solo fire pits.
Yeah, I think I did see a commercial on that.
There's a couple of different ones that are just super funny.
There's him with like Martha Stewart and like some other star maybe.
Willie Nelson did one for them, because they love making weed references. That's all they're doing on these commercials. And so the Willie Nelson, the first Snoop one and the Willie Nelson one that came out, where it's like, I'm going smokeless. And I thought when I first saw the first version of it from Snoop, I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be some of this just
like edibles,
cars or edibles or something like that ad, because I don't know where the national market is right now on. I don't know if there's any legal you can't advertise on television. Whatever. That's where I thought it was going. It was going either into, because Snoop is Death Row Records and Snoop both have disposable nicotine and THC devices on the market right now.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was what the ad was going to be for, but it's just throwing all these like weed references.
I'd say probably at least in non-recreational states, you can't have a commercial for it.
I don't know. I don't know.
That's a guess. I don't know.
Yeah, but either way, it's just like they're funny. They're funny ads, right. And then the new one is like the new Snoop one is great because it makes fun of himself, he makes fun of the product he's selling, and he makes fun of you, the buyer. Like nice. He literally is like he's like. So the whole thing is like they use the word blunt like 15 times in the ad.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I'm Snoop Dogg, I'm being blunt. And like if I'm being blunt,
let me get blunt with you,
right? And he just keeps making those kind of jokes on it, and right. he's like, I'm gonna be blunt. You're gonna buy us because I told you to.
I don't know if you saw any of the footage. There was, I think, it was somewhere in Sevier County. It was like a little gas station, but there was a propane tank that was kind of like floating in the water. You could see there was gas like coming out of it, kind of pushing itself through like a flooded area. But as the camera keeps panning, there was also some like little like hemp store there that had a big sign with a big hemp leaf on it. It's a decent sized, propane tank, larger size than what you'd see like outside of people's houses.
That's why
but it was actually like going like floating in the water, but you could see like bubbles. Like obviously the tank had been punctured or whatever.
My one of my neighbors just has 2 like standard propane tanks from your grill hooked up to his house.
Yeah,
like we were walking the dog earlier, and I saw it. I was like, okay.
So you'll do that on kind of like small like mobile homes. It's usually a bigger tank, or like the 50-pound tanks or whatever.
Yeah, the tall ones that they have like on the food trucks and stuff like that a lot of times.
Because some people will run like they either if you just got like an inside stove, or they've got a refrigerator that runs on gas, or little bits of their electronics run on gas.
Yeah, whatever works for you. Oh, there you go. There's some.
Yeah, that's the one I was talking about.
All right. Well, you guys can't watch this video with us. Hey, I resent that, but whatever.
Yeah, see, there's that tank.
Oh, right there. Oh, it got grounded finally.
Yeah, I don't know if the water finally made it rise, so kind of like just disconnected from the ground.
Oh, sorry. That sounds awful. That's funny. Oh, that's a lot of wet weed. Don't buy from Creekside Smoke Edibles Food and Music. There was Little Pigeon River.
Like a hospital in like Hawkins or some county.
That was Cock County, so that's not.
Oh no, we're like the hospital. There was a bunch of people that had to evacuate to the roof of the hospital because the flooding had come in so fast.
I know. I saw the report came through that they were called. They had an evacuation call for Pigeon Forge. It
was one of the counties that at first they said that there was a dam that had failed, but then TEMA came out like not long after that, and we're like, no, the dam hasn't failed yet, but they were still there was a potential of it, so they were still having people evacuate that area.
Yeah, here it is. That would be Cock County under immediate evacuation orders due to catastrophic dam breakage and flooding. TVA, where you at? You've only been around for like 100 fucking years. Your shit's not still good? What's going on?
Yeah, I saw one of the dams. They were trying to release some water to relieve some pressure.
Yeah, I saw some footage where there was a...
Did you see any footage of the big dam failure that was up in like British Columbia a couple weeks ago? That was crazy.
Yeah, there's your hospital, looks like.
Damn.
There's a lot of rain.
I think it was a Ballot Health, yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of rain.
Think about these just low-lying areas that have a bunch of like little creeks and rivers.
Yeah,
all that water goes downhill. Gravity's a bitch.
On the laundry list of getting to count myself lucky, this neighborhood, my situation on flooding is not a problem.
I mean, your backyard doesn't drain very well.
No, it doesn't. But
it's gotten better, but
flooding. Like, yeah, sure, my backyard gets a little swampy. I've got water come up to the back door, but it won't come up past the threshold.
Yeah.
But even that, I mean, that's just a little localized, whatever, because my yard's in a weird shape. But like, we're never even I'm at the bottom of the hill, but there's more hill going the other way, and getting that like we're close enough to the river and high enough above the river that it runs out of here pretty quick.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I don't know, like back to the sports ball stuff. I acknowledge the tendency to want to hold on to the idea that it's amateur, but it's not amateur. It's just not amateur. It hasn't been amateur for a long time. I think baseball still is. I think basketball still is. It isn't.
I guess. I mean, within that argument, I guess you could argue there's a few sports that aren't as quite as amateur as they used to be, but.
It's just, but again, it's
the big sports aren't the only sports that go on collegiately.
You're right, but let me see if I can figure it out this way. If we're this way, there is a reason that male athletes in most sports make more than women athletes do, And it's not because men. Well,
they're more marketable.
It's not. It's not even that it's more marketable. It's. I don't know. I don't know what the right word is. It's that people pay to see it. People pay to go to men's basketball games, and now it's starting to be that people are paying to go to women's games, and a lot of people are paying. But I mean, that's really what it like. It just comes down to that. Like like there are professional female softball. There's a professional female softball league. Their attendance is probably in the playoffs. Their attendance might reach a Wednesday at a Smokies game. That's it. It is an entertainment product. Like so, the idea I guess the comparable idea would be like if I what's the play, the musical, The Producers. Like it's the joke of he'd figured out a way to make money by making a bad one, even if he made a bad play.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, I think it's
and so, and so it's like again, the bottom line is the economics. The economics is it is.
Yeah.
And so if you're paying for entertainment, the people who the people who perform the entertainment get paid depending on how many people they bring out to watch and play or entertain.
I'd be curious, and you just bring up the Smokies, and I just kind of had that thought that I wonder if there's going to be any like UT baseball players that are literally getting paid more than Smokies players. Where you have what's considered semi-professional league versus a collegiate league, which is arguably professional or whatever. But I would say
it is possible. But I think there's.
I think that's backwards. It's like these people have gone through school and are now actually traveling around for a team that's one step away from the majors.
But I think there is a distinct. I think there is likely a paperwork functional difference. I don't know that UT baseball. I don't know that the rules allow it the same. I don't know that it's universal for all athletes.
Well, right, yeah, it's not going to be. It's going to depend on, I guess, the worth of their name and likeness, literally.
Well, but it's also going to depend on the value of
their agents,
the value of that sport at the school. If wrestlers are going to get paid, you're going to get paid more at Iowa because people watch Iowa wrestling.
Right.
Right now at least, yeah. If you're going to get paid playing baseball, you're going to get paid more playing at Tennessee because people watch Tennessee baseball. But I'm not sure if that's even during the College World Series and stuff like that. I don't think numbers come close to any regular Saturday of UT.
Yeah, but how many Smokies games are on TV?
I mean, I'm talking about Smokies game. I'm talking about.
I'm comparing UT to Smokies, and I'm saying College World Series and college baseball games are actually televised.
Sure. Okay. I see what you're saying.
If you're going to compare the two, it's not quite apples to apples, and that they should be getting paid less. They're actually on TV.
But you're also playing as a Smokies player. You're playing probably twice as many games a year as a UT player is.
True.
And so even if some games do get televised every once in a while, not often. But it's also a different situation too, because it's like some of them go out because there are some players that are on the Smokies that are getting paid miles more.
They have like 2-way contracts or whatever.
Yeah, it's like because you get these guys that have a surgery or something like that. Like, okay, so Smokies are a Cubs affiliate, so you got some Cubs player who was was playing on the Cubs, got injured, had a surgery, and part of his recovery is going to play some minor league ball coming back. He's still getting big money. I would think, depending on what his original contract is. Like, I think if you're playing baseball for the Cubs, it doesn't matter what level you're at, whatever your contract says. And maybe in the contract, it's like, if you're playing for us at the top level, it's $100 a game. If you're playing down at our Smokies affiliate, it's $50 a game.
All right.
But it's probably in the contract somewhere. And I would think that if you're a smart manager, or not manager, but if you're a smart agent, you're going to pay attention to that and make sure that recovery ball isn't nothing. It's like, if he gets injured and doesn't get to play, he still gets X number of dollars in his fixed part, but then his game checks go to whatever. It's like, well, if I'm an agent, I'm going to be like, you got to get it, well, yeah, he's trying to get back up to speed so he can come back to play with the big boys, but I'm not sending him down to Knoxville to play for $100 a night.
Right.
He's better off just going down to the rec center and playing with some random people here and saving that travel and wear and tear on his body from traveling and having to play with a minor league team.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's an interesting one. Like that'd be a great one to get a sports agent in here and talk about some of those. Knoxville sports agents, you got to exist. If not, they're going to exist very soon.
It's true.
Because that's the weird thing to me.
Nowadays it's pretty much like talent agencies that are doing this shit.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I think, I guess the determining factor to me is like if the product you are creating is making that kind of money, you should get a cut. Like it seems like a scam the other way. It seems like a gross scam the other way. Like I agree with you, the amateurism. Like it sucks losing the amateurism of the game, but if the university and ESPN
going to the school, I mean, our sports program makes a shit ton of money. Yes, they bring in a bunch of money, but they've got some better facilities than most of the other departments of the school.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing I've never really cared for that argument. It's like, well, the sports department brings in all this money. And it's like, well, there's also a lot of donors that donate to the school, and I'm sure some of their donations end up getting filtered into the sports program when that's not where they wanted their donations to go to. There's probably a way when you donate to say, hey,
that'd be a fun question to ask.
I want it to go to a particular school.
I mean,
I'm sure there's some funds that go into a general fund for the school.
I donate to the General Scholarship Fund.
Right. But I wonder, when the mainland ticket sales, does all of that money just go into the sports program, or does it go into the UTs?
Good question. Anybody out there know somebody who knows the answer to this? Hit us up. I'd love to go down that rabbit hole with somebody.
We know somebody whose wife works. Maybe.
All right. Well, we'll see if we can. Sam's got an idea. Kamala went to the border this morning.
I think I did see
that
something.
Was pretty
on that.
exciting. I don't know. I didn't. I just caught it in passing on nightly news tonight. I didn't really watch it.
Yeah, it was one of her stops she was going to.
Sorry, if we're going to move to national news, I don't want to do it. Yeah, I do. No, I don't. We are now funding.
Flip a coin.
We're now funding 3 foreign wars. Sorta. I don't know. Like it's the same people.
What's the added one you're referring to here?
I mean, Israel is invading Lebanon right now, as we speak. We're funding.
Are they invading? I thought they've been bombing them. I don't know if they've actually.
They've stated that they plan a ground invasion. Maybe they haven't physically done it yet.
Yeah,
but they intend to.
Goody gumdrops. I did see a clip of. I think it was a UN
BB
meeting
at the UN.
Yeah, a bunch of people got up and walked out.
I'll do whatever the fuck I want to do, and that's what he said.
I was wondering that apparently there was some cheering that you hear and people getting up and walking out. I thought it was people cheering, people getting up and walking out, but the people cheering were actually people that BB brought there, I guess, to cheer him as he was coming up to speak.
There was an image I saw that it showed kind of from over his shoulder into the room.
Yeah,
there's nobody in there.
Yeah, a bunch of people.
Everybody fucking left.
It was good. I would say at least 2/3 of the general assembly.
I'm sure the U.S. ambassador hung out, but
not sure.
But yeah. So we did our pager. The Israel. I still don't know if they've officially taken credit for the pager bombings of last week.
I think they did. I don't know.
I mean, I think it's just a generally everybody assumes the correct answer is that Israel did that, but I don't know that Israel is acknowledged.
Walkie-talkies,
right? Pagers and walkie-talkies, and now they bombed the shit out of them. And at least the defense minister was on record being like, "Yeah, it was public. He knew it was a public announcement. It was him talking to a battalion or something like that, saying we are bombing to prepare for your boots to get on that ground."
I think I did see they put out a warning to the Lebanese.
Right. Yeah, if you don't want to if you don't want us to kill you, you better leave.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's a good thing they warn that, hey, we're about to bomb the shit out of your area.
Oh. I mean, yeah, I guess it's hey, I'm going to destroy your house. You want to get out of it before I do it?
Right.
Why are you destroying my house?
Right. Because you live close to where we think some bad guys could be.
Right. Because we have intelligence that says that that Hezbollah has got a rocket launcher in your basement. Well, does it matter if I tell you they don't?
Right.
Nope, we're going to bomb your house anyway. You better get the fuck out. Okay. So Yeah, that's happening. Anyway, back to domestic policy. I don't know. What do you got? What's like? I don't really have anything. I haven't really good.
Did hear a crazy story. I'd be curious to get your take on.
Uh-oh.
So I found out
This never goes well.
Yeah, no, it's nothing weird. I was telling me my niece is taking I guess it's an actual class, which I don't know if they did that at our high school as well, but for the yearbook club, apparently it's an actual class. But apparently one of the requirements, and it's actually part of her grade, is they have to get each person on the yearbook committee or whatever has to get 5 like donors basically. Have to have five companies, whatever, sign up. And I guess they gave them a list of companies. But if they don't get 5, I guess that's part of their grade and they can fail. And I was like, that's fucked up. I was like, it's one thing to encourage, but to make it a requirement to fund, I guess basically the yearbook club is you have to go out as part of your grade and get businesses to sign up. I mean, I'm sure there's businesses that donate to the school every year, but kind of got the impression it's a small town, so I mean, it's only a certain number of businesses that are going to be willing to donate money.
So it's not here?
No.
Okay.
I just thought it was like an odd school thing. Like, hey, I always thought it was more. I always thought yearbook club was extracurricular. I didn't realize it's an actual.
I know they do something. Okay, because I mean, yeah. All right. So the fact that it's class or not, as an aside,
right? But just the requirement. Yeah.
All right. So on a more general level, how much? I bought 2 already this year, and I forgot. And these are middle school yearbooks.
Right.
I want to say they're like $45 a piece.
I know the high schools are more expensive. Ours are kind of thick.
Yeah.
It had extra bullshit in it.
So what are we gathering donors for? That's my first question. Like, what are the donors for? Are they?
I guess this is for the yearbook.
So
I guess the general cost to put photos in there that they don't fully recoup from selling the yearbooks. I'm not really sure.
I would like to see that's where my brain goes first in this conversation.
Yeah. My mom asked my sister for the fine print of like the curriculum or the syllabus or whatever.
Well, because one of the things,
see what exactly it says.
Because one of the things that has started since I don't recall, maybe they did it when we were in school, but like for the last couple of years, for me at least, since my kids have been in school, your yearbook you order your yearbook
like beginning of the year,
right? And so they know how many they're producing before they start trying to figure out what they're actually producing in the first place. I would love to be in that industry. That would be the greatest business to be in the fucking world. I know exactly how many of the things I have to produce. Perfect. It makes it so much easier to price it out and do all the different stuff I have to do. Plus, I have oodles of time because, like, some of the stuff doesn't matter, like paper, bindings, all that kind of stuff. 90% of that I can buy it when it's cheap. Doesn't really matter. I just have to buy it before the date of, right?
Right.
So before printing, I just have to make sure I have the paper, the ink, all the different parts and pieces, blah, 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 like all those different stuff I can.
If you're that kind of company, you're keeping that stock on hand.
Maybe you're not. Doesn't really matter. But I know it's coming, and I know when it's due, and I buy it when I need to buy it. Because not to mention, it's not like they're only printing for one school, right? And so they get to sit there. So what that company gets to do is they get to say, look, paper manufacturer that I buy paper from for my printing, I have exactly X number of yearbooks I have to print. And they always do plus 10% or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But, I'm going to print this many books in 6 months. Quote me on paper. And I have all the time in the world to go out and shop this and get it printed and get the paper made and sent to me, or however the different processes work. You have all the time in the fucking world to do that ahead of time, which in theory should make it either cheaper or more profitable, whichever version of that I want to do as the company, if I'm the contracted company in the game. Because I'm not in a hurry, but I have exact numbers. That's crazy. It's so easy. And so the question I have is, like, so if we're paid $45 to buy one, how much does it take to produce one?
Yeah.
I have a hard time believing it takes more than $50 to produce one.
It couldn't be if they're selling it for that much.
Well, then what do they need donations for?
Don't know.
Well, that's my point. And so if each student in the class, however many students it is, needs to collect 5 donors,
or sponsors, basically, yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But 5 people that are willing to put in money, however much they're asking them to put in, whether it's $100, $200, $500, You know, I like, okay, so
it almost seems like a way to have free, I guess, like canvassers to go out.
Sure.
Even though, like I said, the school already had like a list, I guess, of previous donors.
Right. On the front end, as for educational experience, I think there is value in just the idea of that. Yes. That is something, depending on what you do with your life, that is something that you might have to do.
Right.
Is go out and collect sponsors. I've been doing a ton of that as of late now that I've gotten into this festival thing that I like to do all of a sudden.
Yeah.
That is part of the game. And so it is not ridiculous to teach that skill. Yeah. And to make that a requirement of a class is to execute a skill. Okay, that makes sense to me.
It's kind of crazy thought. I wonder if in the near future they'll go to like just digital yearbooks and they'll stop actually just printing them. It's like, hey, now you'll have access to all these photos you can go through.
Maybe. But they'll be watermarked, so you can't print them.
True.
Unless you pay the special fee. But going back, I just like so I like those. So the number one question I have is, how much does it cost to produce a book? And if it costs this much and we pay the same, like let's say it costs them $40 to make one and we pay $45 for them. Where's the other $5 going? Why do we need donors on the side? Like, what is this other money for? Maybe part of it is that class as an elective is not funded by the state because it's an elective, and this is the way they fund the stuff, the materials they actually use to do in the class. Obviously, you have to have computers and stuff like that. There's software that's needed to do it and stuff like that.
Electives will still be covered by the school and the state.
Maybe some are, some aren't, depending on where they sit. I don't know. But maybe there's a specific software that you need to compile all the pages and stuff like that in a way that you can present it to the printer.
Maybe if it was new software, but I'm assuming it'd be the same software you've been using the past 5 years.
Most software nowadays is you don't get
a yearly subscription.
Right, you don't get to buy it and keep it.
Right.
You have to subscribe to it, and it's an annual access fee.
True.
And so I don't know. But again, back to the first question is, how much does it cost to produce the book? And why do you need more money than it costs to produce the book? Why do you need more money than people are paying to get the book if that's above what you're producing the book for? Is this a weird way to get more money into the general fund? Maybe. Okay. Or maybe, like, I don't know. Like that, those are the questions I have. But again, as a skill, I kind of like it. Like, I think it's not a bad thing to teach kids.
Right.
It's better than getting them to go sell bullshit for
chocolate bars.
Right, chocolate bars and pizzas and popcorn and all the different shit that we get them out there selling. Because
I guess the weirdest thing that kind of turned me off was the requirement of that for the class, your grade being
right. It seems kind of problematic.
A requirement of it.
Right. It seems kind of problematic if I don't know, we're in a fucking recession and all the companies are like, I
don't have $100.
I can't.
Right.
Or the inverse is, it's like you happen to be a student that has that, you have some connection to that. Your dad's the fucking city councilor or whatever. And so you have connections to all these people. Right. Your family has connections to all these people and they're like, yeah.
Right.
And they're throwing it at you as fast as they can. Because, not corruption, but corruption on some level because it...
Well, but nepotism.
Well...
or nepotistic.
Corrupto nepotism? I don't know. We're making up words here. You get the point of what we're saying, people. Relax. That is pretty nuts. So, I had lunch with my dad today. Always fun. At the end of it, he was telling me, so apparently, if you're a vet, your family will receive a flag upon your death, no matter what.
Okay, I've heard that, yeah.
And so, my dad has said that his dad never got one. Or to his best of his knowledge, his dad never got one, and he couldn't find it.
His dad never got one for your dad's grandfather?
My dad never got one for his dad.
Okay, gotcha.
And so, in his attempts to figure it out and figure out how to get one, he ended up getting one. That's awesome. Yeah. But in the attempts, he found his dad's DD-14. I think it's DD-14. I apologize.
Like your release papers? Or discharge papers?
And to which he never knew. Like my dad is apparently my dad's dad was like my dad. Is he doesn't talk about it. Like my dad was in Vietnam, I know that. He's had a few stories here and there. Like we were at the 4th of July parade out in Farragut last year, and he always, every year, it's been like 7 years in a row, he points out the fact that you never fly like that. Because Knox County Sheriff's Office has Hueys, a couple of Hueys that they fly at the parade every year, which is what my dad flew when he was in Vietnam. And we talked about it on the show, like he's like, you always fly like, skids touching the canopy. You're as low as you can possibly get all the time. Anyway, but apparently his dad was the same way and never really told him anything about it. And like, so I found out, or like I have the assumption that my grandfather was at the Battle of the Bulge, because when we were clearing out their house, I found some pins that were like, it was a uniform pin that was a Battle of the Bulge pin. And I don't know what I did with those. I need to figure out where I put those. A
Battle of the Bulge pin?
Yeah. Like you get all, there's like I don't understand it. Like all those ribbons, like there's so much stuff that means so much stuff.
I know there was one for like Normandy, yeah, so there probably is one for Battle of the Bulge.
Right, and so he found out though, he found out what battalion my grandfather was in and did a little bit of cursory research on it and found out that his dad landed on D-Day +1.
Yeah.
So he came the day after in an artillery unit. And to which I told him, this is why you need to write a memoir, Dad, so I don't have to go weird ways to figure this out after you die. And he kind of giggled and said, yeah, it makes sense. So maybe I've talked him into it.
Yeah. I started getting a hair on my ass a while back and started trying to look for records on my grandfather. I can't remember if I told you I actually put in an application to like the National Archives or whatever for any military information. Apparently there was a fire in like the 60s or 70s that destroyed a bunch of paperwork. So I think like one of the only like pieces of paper, and it was like a photocopy, I think was his like, I think it showed like his final pay, but I think it was basically like when he made it back to stateside. It was some like camp up in New York or fort, whatever, up in New York, where I think it showed like his last payment of like, $800 or whatever. It was like his last like army payment that he got.
No, you didn't tell me about that application process and stuff like that. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it was interesting as far as getting it back, because you've got to put in, what information you found. It took me a minute to even like look and find him. So I had to find like his name and had to figure out like his like serial number or whatever for them to kind of more narrow it down. You can just be like, here's my family member's name, and I think they were in the war.
Can you tell me more about my grandpappy? What's his name? Grandpappy?
Yeah. We just call him Grandpappy.
I never knew him other than
Peepaw? Some people called him Peepaw too. You had a Peepaw in there?
At some point, we were at the store, and I heard a guy named Jim, but I don't know who the Jim was, and nobody really knew what was going on. So he might be Jim something.
But I think I was able to narrow it down to like what division he was in. It was an armored infantry regiment. I was able to kind of narrow it down, but even then, like there's companies that are below that. Because I may try to dig into it because I think there's some records at a college that I guess that has a bunch of records of like this particular division.
Huh.
I'm kind of curious to see if they have like action reports that are still available.
Yeah, I'm sure it's out there. I mean, you just got to find it, like,
right?
Or it got burned, maybe. But
I think that was more like some of the national records.
Either way,
I guess as far as like Army records, but yeah, there may be stuff that's missing.
I think about that like it's one of those like if I were a stoner, it'd be worse, I guess, but I can't, so I don't. But like I think about that like how many just warehouses full of random paperwork exist?
Yeah.
Like just warehouses of paperwork.
I said I've tried to look for stuff on like the National Archives, and it's crazy. Just when you do like a general search, it'll come up with like 50,000 like listings that have that as like a tag word.
Yeah,
where it's in just like you said, it's in like basements and like archives and stacks.
Right, it's some poor government employee who's getting paid with tax money, and I'm not complaining about it. I'm just stating the fact has had to go and digitize a lot of stuff, which is helpful.
Yeah, right,
it's awesome that they're doing it. I'm just saying like trillions, quadrillions pieces of paper out there.
Oh yeah, probably.
I mean, just ungodly numbers of just sheets of paper that exist and are recorded. Not recorded, but just like filed somewhere under some weird categorization, whatever category, like however that place filed their stuff, and it's just there.
Yeah,
it's just a matter of figuring out how to get to it, and it's crazy.
Where exactly it is, yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's why somebody has the job title archivist.
Yeah,
that's why that exists.
I said I've started if I can dig out more into that familial thing we go to. It was trying to figure out some of the relatives that were like judges, but it was like I know the city I think they were in, but I don't know what state that was at that time. It was kind of like weird.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like early, like colonial times. So like, was it still a colony at that time? Was it a state? Like, where was the capital in the state? You know, where would the courthouse would have been?
Oh, yeah. Good God. That's a good...
So we're like, where would those records from that long ago, where would they go to?
Right. When they close that courthouse and reopen the new one.
Right. Or even just old records, like where are those old records?
Right. Did they go into the new courthouse for storage, or did they go to a different facility outside of that for cold storage?
So well, some of them, the last trip, I think they thought some of them could be in like Philadelphia and like some of the National Archives, but they weren't too sure. God, it was all kind of dependent on what document was.
What a neat little rabbit hole. Get it. Get after it. We'll do a spin-off podcast. It's just you going down the rabbit hole of archive searching.
It's cray-cray.
I mean, it's probably like I'm sure it could be some of the neatest. Like, I mean, we love that. Like, we watch documentaries and podcasts like that, and listen to podcasts like on stuff like that all the time, where it's just deep dives into whatever. And the research, the research skills that I wish I had, blows my mind. Like, it's just like, yeah, like how do you do that?
One thing I never really knew is a lot of historians, like if they want to, I guess, like write about something or like write about something that had happened, they'll. I think the general consensus is at least 3 independent examples of it, or whatever. Three independent, like, what's the word I'm looking for?
Verification?
Yeah. Essentially, three
corroboration.
separate people. To corroborate, if you're going to say, person A did this at this place, you want 3 independent sources, basically.
Right. And you got to figure out where to find 3 independent
sources. So I guess
sources.
where you can truly believe it, not be like, hey, there was a story about this person, but this person that was their friend or whatever also has the same story. It's okay, well, you have 2 people that were closely related that have the same story. You can't guarantee that that's something
the difference between
happen.
We think this is what happened to this is what happened.
Right.
Yeah. It's fascinating.
That's something I do appreciate, and that a lot of historians will actually, try to hold to that before they say, A or B happened. They actually try to find, 3 independent sources.
Yeah. God, think about how it's going to be in 100 years from now.
It's going to be a little bit easier.
I don't know.
So much stuff is more digitized now.
True, but you're going to have...
I mean, now you can get AI that can search through stuff.
Sure, but you also have 1,000... You have millions of sources that are bullshit.
Sure.
That can corroborate it, but you have no ability to verify that corroboration is a real thing, or if it's just some aberration of the internet.
Right.
So... Maybe they need to raise that standard to like 50 in the coming time frame. So, have you registered yet at your new house?
Registered
to vote.
Yeah, I actually got my voter ID card today.
Ooh, so you're going to vote this time?
Yeah, probably.
Tune in on November. If I have my calendar in front of me, whatever the Friday after the election.
I may try to do early. We'll see. I bet you try to get on and actually look and see.
Yeah, you got to figure out who's up there. I don't know shit about, like, if you vote for McNally, I'm kicking you in the nuts. I'm just kidding. You vote for whoever you want to.
Fucking groomer.
I'm just saying. I don't know. Is there somebody running against him? I haven't looked at that race.
No idea.
So
I like how the voter ID card does, like, say, like, what district it is for, like, each kind of, like, race.
You got it with you?
No, I left it at home.
Oh, shit. I'd be curious. Because, I mean, it's definitely District 8?
I don't know.
McNally's 8? He might be 9.
No idea.
Well, because Becky's 6, Briggs is 7. Which, as we learned, and it's a weird thing to know, but it's a good thing to know, even number state Senate seats are on the presidential cycle. Odd number state Senate seats are on the gubernatorial cycle. So I don't know if McNally's up anyway.
Yeah.
I did hear, and I got to find out more about him. There is a guy who is running against Mr. Briggs, who ran against Mr. Briggs, who intends to run again against Mr. Briggs. So we'll have to see how that goes. Because I was going to try to get Max to run against. I was going to try to get Max to run for Senate 7.
Yeah.
Briggs sucks. You need to get him out of there. I don't know if he sucks or not. Just on a particular key personal issues, I don't like him. But he might be overall decent.
Could be worse.
Becky loves him. Becky always tells me, you need to talk to him. You need to talk to Dr. Briggs. She always calls him Dr. Briggs.
Right.
I was like, I would like to talk to Dr. Briggs. Hook me up. Maybe I'll text her and say, hey, give me a sit down with old Briggs. It's just not a cycle. Garrett Holt running down the street today with his Labradoodle shirtless.
Yeah.
Apparently, I don't know. I don't know where he lives. I didn't know that he lived in the neighborhood. But he was walking around with his wife in the neighborhood with their dog.
You can look it up.
I can't look up where he lives. I can look up where he's.
I thought their address was on their application.
Oh, I guess it is. Yeah, you're right. You'd sent me a question of whether I'd seen whole Mayor Jacobs Marsha ad.
Yeah, that was the first my first viewing of it.
I
think I caught like the very end of it. Like
I've seen it many times
yesterday or something. And then I caught it today. You actually got to see the beginning to the end.
Yeah, I've seen it many times.
I was like, what is this?
I mean, he has an agenda. Like, I think there's no question, and I don't feel like I'm breaking any rules or, I mean, I'm just making shit up anyway because I don't know it for a fact. He hasn't told me personally, but you know, everybody is pretty confident that he has a furtherance agenda. And I was actually explaining this to wife, or explaining this. The wife had asked me about it earlier, and I was talking to her about it. It's like, and it got me thinking about it. There's only really one place he can go. Maybe two. There's only one or two seats that I can think of that make sense for him to try to go after. Okay, so he's on. His term as mayor of Knox County ends in 26. 26 is a gubernatorial year. We will have Governor Lee is termed out. So the most obvious, simple, logical, if he wants to go up from where he's at, well, he's going to run for governor of the state of Tennessee. It's possible. And that seems to be the most leaned
State
on.
House or Senate wouldn't really be much of a step up.
Nah, it's a step backwards for him. He didn't want that. I didn't make any sense. Like, I just don't see him. There's no point. It's not a value. Like the only logical step up for him is governor or a federal Senate or House seat.
Do people run for a lieutenant governor, or is the governor always like kind of assign their lieutenant governor?
I don't know exactly. I think lieutenant governor is a state senator.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it is the Speaker of the Senate. Yeah, so McNally is the. Yeah.
And so they're elected by the Speaker, by the Senate. They're elected as Speaker, and that makes them automatically.
Lieutenant, okay, yeah.
And so there's gubernatorial race, and the only other one that I could see as a possibility would be he's going to try to take Burchett's seat, but Burchett's on the ballot right now, which means Burchett won't be on the ballot again, because federal House is 6 years?
Yeah, there's, was it Andy Ogles, our House rep.
Not my House rep. Where's Andy Ogles?
He might be more central. You're right. He was one I think I sent you an article on that was in the news last week, or he's been in a couple stories recently.
We could double check it, my understanding, Mayor Jacobs lives up in the Halls area.
Yeah,
but I'm pretty sure that's all.
I forgot about that. Yeah, he would have to be in that constituency.
Although apparently he had a house up in Morristown. Somehow ended up on my Facebook feed. He was selling his $4.4 million estate in Morristown so that he could move to Knoxville. And apparently he was selling insurance prior to his mayorship.
I mean, there's money in it if you're in the right place. And he has the recognition. People would do it just because, hell yeah, I got insurance from
Motherfucking Kane's my insurance agent. Don't fuck with me.
Oh, I thought it odd. I mean, it's playing to his... persona, but
yeah,
I thought it was odd that it was a political ad and that was all just like wrestling themed.
Well, it's Marsha going to fight for you,
right?
Yeah.
To me, I think it would have come off a lot better without the wrestling theme. You'd be like, hey, I support her for blah blah blah.
The bottom line here is that I guess that's why I went through that whole diatribe about his. It's clear he has intent to go forward as a politician. And, the bottom line here is that if you want to go forward as a politician, you have to play your role as part of the machine. And the machine wants Senate. The machine wants Marsha to hold her Senate seat. You do what you can to help the machine.
Right.
I mean, that's all it is.
I mean, I guess wrestling's still popular enough. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not in the know. I would just think leaning into the wrestling thing is you're not casting as wide of a net as you could have. Of it being more like
anybody who's receptive to what the ad is speaking to. I don't think you're going to turn off with it. I guess is my take.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think it was really like a turn off. But
that's what I'm saying. Like that's
it just seems like you could appeal to more voters without the wrestling stick. But I don't know.
I mean, I'm trying to remember all the talking points, but it was she's tough on China. Like, I mean, the whole wrestling theme was about she's tough on stuff.
All right, you can say that without having.
I know, but I'm just saying, like,
but
you want to say, she's going to be like, but he's got like the talking points I recall is she's going to be tough on the border, and she's going to be tough on China.
Yeah, it was like 3 different points.
Right. Yeah. I don't remember what the third one was, but that was kind of the takeaway from the ad. It's like she's going to be tough on this, that, and the other. Right. So yeah, I don't know, like whatever. She's going to be tough on shit. But I get where you put a wrestling thing in that game.
I don't know. It's probably more of a personal thing.
I mean, I think it's I don't know. Like I get where Jacobs is coming from for his own ends. I get where it's value to the Republican caucus and the Republican Party in general. I get where Senator Blackburn likes it. Those want to be her talking points. As far as political ads go, and as far as the data goes, as far as like surveying and shit like that. The tough on China thing I don't know a lot about, but like, the tough on the border, that's a very popular issue.
I think she's been involved in like some legislation with China. I could be wrong. I think she's been on some bipartisan committees that have talked about doing that. I could be wrong, but I think I've seen her being involved in some things.
I got one of her flyers in the mail today. Yeah. Protect Tennessee, protect America. I'm honored to fight for Tennessee conservative values in the United States Senate. I'm asking for your vote. I don't fucking care. What are you going to do? Fighting for our conservative values. As your Senator, Marsha Blackburn will continue the fight to secure the border and halt illegal immigration and runaway inflation to protect our economy, stop Biden's woke policies, bring back Trump's America First agenda, which Trump isn't even trying to bring back, but whatever. Did you see Trump was floating the salt tax?
Sales after tax?
State and local tax exemption. Support our veterans and protect our most vulnerable, which that's the code for anti-abortion.
Yeah. One last thing on Jacobs I just kind of thought of. I would think at this point he would try to distance himself a little bit from the wrestling if he wants to take himself seriously, especially if he wants to be a governor. I mean, I think Jesse Ventura kind of put some distance between his wrestling career, when he started getting into politics.
Yeah, but I think the era of politics has shifted.
I guess.
Trump's like megalomaniac, fucking The Apprentice show.
You're fired.
Yeah, like that is what he sells on. Like that's how he does his thing. Speaking of sales, $100,000 watches, people.
Right, but that translates a little bit more into politics, of kind of like corporate boardroom, you're fired, blah, blah, blah. But wrestling doesn't lead into politics.
I don't disagree with you at all on that, but from a layman's perspective, I could see, from a political layman's perspective, I could see you lean into who people think you are and use that to the end that you're trying to get to.
Yeah.
So people see you and they think Kane. Don't pretend like you're not, but make Kane into the character that does the thing that you're trying to do. And so don't separate yourself from it. Maybe define it a little clearer and define it to your own end. But yeah, hold on. If that's what if people tune in for that, and there's a little fucking shit show about some guy went to Knox County, went down to the city county building. Had requested an audience with the mayor to get him to sign some fucking wrestling boots or some shit like that.
Oh yeah, we talked about that.
And so there, they're
not even a guy that was from around here. It wasn't even a fucking constituent.
Right,
it was just a fan.
Like, is it okay?
A fan passing through town.
Is it okay that the mayor is using his official time to do his?
You were against it at the time, yeah.
And so like, but again, as he's trying to broaden his stage politically. And he has the fortune of having a national audience already. Like, there is a national audience that knows who he is.
Right.
Most politicians trying to transition out of local to state or federal government don't have the bonus of having a national audience already built in. And so don't hide that. Why would you hide that? Lean into it. Remind them that they know who you are. But if he's going
for governor, national recognition doesn't get you as far when you're running for governor in a state.
Well, it gets you more than, yes, it does. Absolutely it does.
It doesn't play into it as much, I guess, is my thought.
Okay, well, I skipped a step in my statement. So you have local recognition as a mayor, but you don't have statewide recognition as a mayor. If you have statewide or national audience for some other thing that you have done.
Sure, he's done a little bit throughout the state. I mean, we're third or fourth, major city in the state.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't tell you Nashville or mayor or the.
I'll bet you dollars to donuts if we went to Nashville and we're just talking to people on the street who are Nashville residents and be like, hey, you know who the mayor of Knox County is? Is that wrestler dude? That's going to be their question. That's that.
Exactly. I think you're kind of proving my point. Is that's what he's kind of like known for. He's not known as being the mayor. He's
exactly. But that's my point. Is that you have an audience. You have people who know who you are. You just have to manipulate what they know you for into what you want them to know you for. So don't hide what they know you for. Lean into that. But lean into that with I was this guy. I'm now this guy.
Depending on the perception that you get off of it. I mean, I personally don't think a wrestler should be our mayor.
Why not? Because he's a wrestler, he's unqualified?
I'd say yes, experience-wise, yes. As far as running a county or city government.
Okay. This is going to be
Never mind. Let's talk about something else.
You're going to hate the question, but
I don't want to talk about it then.
Too bad.
I'm not going to give you an answer.
What are the qualifications? Like, what do you see as a qualification to run for mayor?
Again. Never mind.
Why? I mean, that's why
we've talked about fucking qualifications. I think you mentioned it before, as far as or just recently in like text. Is yes, maybe we should hold our legislators to a higher example. I
do recall what you're speaking of. I'd like to look at that text again, but yes, I have.
I mean, it's general premise. I mean, we talked about it. When Trump was running in 2016, I had the same thought that I think at that time you kind of pushed back. And with that kind of same idea of like, well, what should we expect?
I still think I do push back, and I still think I think the comment that I was talking about when we said that
it was something different, right?
I know,
but I just meant it's in that general premise,
right? Okay, because that's a good story. That's a good cut that we could. You want to transition to that story because it's an interesting story. Because that's what I believe that was when I said that. This is what we were talking about: the Ohio sheriff,
right?
Okay, so for context, everybody, to completely shift topics, but hold on to why I would ever say the phrase higher standard. So AP released a story, Ohio Sheriff deletes online posts about Harris supporters and their yard signs after public outcry. This came out September 25th, 2024. Quote, after a public outcry and under threat of litigation, an Ohio Sheriff has deleted a social media post in which he said that people with Kamala Harris yard signs should have their addresses written down so that immigrants can be sent to live with them. Okay, right? That's the story.
Yes, you've read the first paragraph.
I'm just saying, all right. So
yes, you didn't. Yes, you said all the words.
Right, and so my reply when I read the story after you sent it to me was it kicked back to what we were talking about a week ago. About lines up with the quote, when a cop says it's a threat theory. But my take on it was, I mean, there's two lenses to look at this story through to me. One, the top officer in the county being the sheriff, and this is not particularly a protect and serve kind of thing to do. If you're going to put an implicit threat out to some residents who don't like the party that you're politically affiliated with, that's problematic if you're supposed to be the top public security officer of that place. I agree with that. But two, he's a politician, right? He ran for sheriff and won his sheriff seat. He is running for sheriff currently. That's in the story.
Right.
So he's a politician. He's playing political games here. So he's trying to appeal to his audience, who he wants to vote for them, who are probably anti-immigrant, Republican, blah blah blah, this, that, and the other. And so that is a political message that he put on his Facebook page, that he put out. Now, is it appropriate or not? That's a whole separate conversation. But this is a political tool that he is trying to use.
Okay.
Right. And so
that's your explanation.
Is that not? Is that not a? What do you mean? That's my explanation.
That you think that's all that was? That was just him playing politics?
That he doesn't believe that he believes it or not? Is that the question? Do I think he believes that?
Well, no, that him making that statement was just him playing politics.
I couldn't imagine why anybody would make that statement if it wasn't about politics.
Okay.
What I mean,
that's a possibility. Yes.
What do you think? What do you think his intent was with that statement? Like, do you think it was an actual threat?
I don't think it was an actual threat. I think it was making it known of his view on this. But I think it's not a stretch that people would view that as a threat.
Okay, if you're running for any public office, regardless of whether it's sheriff or anything else,
right.
If you're running for public office and you're in the throes of a campaign, I would think that any time you spoke publicly, it would be with intent. And going on Facebook or whatever social media post he put this on, would be with intent.
Yeah, I think it was Facebook post. He put it his personal and his official sheriff.
Okay, the official sheriff one makes it a little grosser, I guess. But but either way, like if you're going to put a public statement out as a candidate, that is a political statement by default.
Yes, I can see. Yes, you running for office, making a statement could be considered a political statement. Okay, yes, that's a very vague definition, because he could say any sentence and you could say, well, that's a political statement just because he said it because he is running as a politician.
Okay.
It just kind of seems like a gross kind of exaggeration of this. Like, oh, it's just him talking politics.
And it's not him talking politics. It's him signaling to an audience to vote for him because this is how they feel. He thinks they agree with him on this particular one, or he thinks this is something that will resonate with his constituency.
Okay. I think we just view this totally differently. I see this as I could see this being seen as a pretty clear, like if I had signs out in my yard.
Why would it be? Okay, so again, this is a devil's advocate. Don't freak out on me, but this is a devil's advocate argument.
Yeah.
Why would it be, if you were pro-immigration, why would it be a threat for immigrants to come live with you? I don't have anywhere else to put him.
What is the threat? He is threatening of literally just dropping people off in your yard because you voted for a candidate that he disagrees with.
Because you voted for the candidate that, in his opinion, is pro bringing more people in. So we're bringing more people in. We have to put him somewhere.
So this is just a bad joke, or you think this is just fair game in politics? I think you said not long ago that yes, this was gross if he said this on his official account, which he did.
Again, it's the two.
Is it a gross statement or is it him talking politics? That's what I'm getting confused on here.
I don't know, because there's two lenses to look at this through. That's my point. The lens of the top.
I'm asking you what lens you view this through. I'm not asking you to sparse and look at all the different ways you can look at this. I'm asking for your opinion.
I don't know. I'm not running for sheriff against him. I don't. I like as a person who is the sheriff.
I'm not asking you to put yourself in the shoes of someone that's running against him.
Okay, well then
as someone as
then yes, this is politics.
That you're not in his constituency.
Okay, then this is a political statement. Period. Full stop.
Okay,
that's how I view this. This is him playing politics.
Okay.
I mean, that's like he is seeking to keep his job, and this is a statement that he thinks is going to help him get the votes he needs to keep his job.
I don't appreciate a sheriff essentially encouraging the public to make a list.
Do you think we should not elect sheriffs?
I'm fine with electing sheriffs. I disagree with a statement, jokingly or not, encouraging the general public to make a list of people that disagree with you politically.
I don't think he said make a list of who to disagree with you. I don't think he had.
He said make a list of people with signs so you can drop off immigrants in their yards.
He said
should have their addresses written down so that immigrants can be sent to live with them. You read this.
We'll already have a list of the addresses of the new families who will support their arrival.
I mean, not to mention he's calling them human locusts, but whatever.
Again, I think
it's just rhetoric. He's just playing the political game.
I don't know how he personally feels about it or not, but I don't think you say that out loud in public if you don't think that that's what you're doing.
Okay. I can't remember if it mentions it in here, but like the city or the county has already taken them off of, I guess, them working at the polling places, which I fully agree with.
I mean, I find that I did read that in there, and that was a very interesting thing. It's like, okay, that's an interesting conundrum. You have an elected official
apparently
overseeing security.
I think it was a state law they had recently just passed that basically if I guess if you're an incumbent sheriff, you don't have your deputies working at that polling location, because it could be seen as potential voter intimidation.
I mean, look, all right, so if we're going to, like...
To play devil's advocate.
No, I mean, like, yes, it can, and, like, I don't know how you do it otherwise. I don't...
I think it's just like the county police, or it's like a surrounding neighboring city or whatever.
Right.
So it's at least adding a layer of some kind of separation. I mean, it's a tiny town anyway, so no matter a lot of people know each other.
Right, no matter how you break this thing down, it shows a flaw in the system. I mean, when you get down to it. As far as who is doing official security for polling, because even if you're using the local police, okay, they're not necessarily directly in this election, but like if KPD is doing security during the city election,
we don't elect the police chief though.
No, but we elect the mayor who hires the police chief.
True.
I mean, it's the same thing, just one extra step, I guess, but. Like if I were running for the mayor of the city of Knoxville, and part of my platform is I'm going to get rid of Chief Noel because I don't like him. That's not a fact. That's not true. I'm just throwing a hypothetical out. But if I'm like, I think KPD sucks, and I think we need to get rid of them, and I think we need to change the way we do policing around here, and that's my platform as mayor. But KPD is doing security at my polling centers. Do I get to just argue that it's not fair that KPD gets to do security there? Because that's part of my platform.
What's the danger in that? You think having the police there, they would...
Would that not be
discouraging people to come out to vote for the mayor that would do that?
Right. If I am that person running for mayor on the platform that let's get rid of KPD, and KPD is at the polling station, can I just be like, hey, KPD is not allowed to be here. You're intimidating my voters. They can't come vote for me. I'm going to lose this election, not because I lost the election, but because you scare people from voting for me because your officers are sitting at the polling places.
Yeah, it would probably take a change in the city or county laws. Well, like I said, I think the state of Ohio just changed their laws.
I'm saying either way,
if it's within an election cycle,
right? But like if it's already in play, they can't change it before that election happens.
True.
And so I
agree. Like I said. I think it could be legal. It would take changing city ordinance or county ordinance.
That part of this conversation points like a flaw in the machine to me. Is like at some point, no matter what, a body who is directly responsible, either an elected sheriff or...
it may just be the fact that politics has just gotten that much more vitriolic. Vitriolic? Yeah.
It's a good word. I like it.
And it's just more like heated in general, that maybe they're trying to put in a little bit of a buffer zone. It hasn't been an issue in the past, but with the elections getting more and more heated and ugly.
I was just throwing out the hypothetical. I don't know shit from shit. But back to the main point here, it's like no, I don't. If you're running on a platform that is the current American right, if you're a Republican, if you're running for sheriff as a Republican, that sounds like a Republican fucking game. I mean, that sounds like something a Republican would say right now. Now, should it be said, is it something that I wish was not part of politics? Sure. But on the platform that is the GOP right now, running on anybody who supports immigration should have to fucking pay the price and deal with it. If that comes off as a threat, so be it. That's my political stance, and I'm running for office as a Republican. I happen to be running for sheriff.
Is that something he could legally do?
What?
Just drop people off in people's yards?
I doubt it.
You doubt it?
I don't fucking know.
It would be illegal. I'm going to go ahead and just answer that question for you. I thought you would know the answer to this. It would be illegal to do that. That would be considered kidnapping. To just take people and just drop them off.
So you agree that the sheriff's allowed to kidnap people? Oh, I don't know. No,
I don't. How am I saying that I'm okay with the sheriff?
How's it kidnapping
people?
Back up with the story. So if I pick up somebody, if I'm the sheriff and one of my deputies picks up somebody who's an illegal immigrant, I have the right to detain them.
Yeah.
Okay, I have the right to detain them.
Yeah.
And I choose with my sheriff's discretion.
Just part of that right to detain them also allow you the ability to just, you've detained them because you've arrested them. You're going to plan to prosecute them or do something, but you can just release them and just drop them off in a random location. that you happen to have a list of addresses for?
I don't know what the legal rules are for.
Because that's
release.
Without your jurisdiction of someone in custody. I mean, I think the prosecutor could decide not to press charges. I don't know if the police department can solely decide to not prosecute. And like, we're just going to release you. We're going to drop you off over here.
So which one are you asking me? Can they legally just take you anywhere and drop you off?
Yeah. And once you're in custody, like I said, they've gotten arrested because they've been found to be in the country illegally.
I have no
idea. Like
idea.
I said, they've taken them back to
if they're in Knox County and they're part of 287, Knox County's operating under the 287G or whatever it's called, then they're obliged by their agreement with ICE to hold them until ICE comes and gets them. That would be their legal obligation in Knox County, at least as I understand, with the 287G thing.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if that county participates in it or not.
I don't know. Like I legitimately don't know, regardless of immigration status, what the rules are on releasing somebody from detention.
Okay. But you agree that you doubt that it would be something that would be illegal to do. Would it be immoral to do that?
To do what? Just drop them off somewhere?
Yes.
As opposed
to do what he's jokingly or politically going along with what everyone else is saying.
Would it be immoral for him to drop off? Yes. Yeah, so sure. I don't think it'd be illegal. I don't know. I don't know what the I don't know the legals on it. I don't know where morality has to. I don't know where morality has a play here. Is it a fucked up thing to do? Sure.
Okay, but it's not a fucked up thing for him to say because it's him just saying this in the guise of politics because other people are saying it too.
I don't understand what the vitriol you're spitting at me right now is coming from.
I guess it's just my misunderstanding of how you don't see this as a bad thing. You're just like, well, politicians say crazy shit. You know, I mean, he's running for a race. It just kind of sounds like you're just kind of playing it off as this is just what the political game is now.
Well, I mean, there's a little bit of that, but
I don't know. I think I said this was fucked up what he did.
I don't know. I think it's fucked up that he took it down. If you're gonna fucking do it, stand by it. I think it's fucked up the ACLU ask them to take it down. If you're the ACLU, say leave that shit up, bro. So we can point to everybody and we can tell everybody how fucked up you are. Like, why would you ask to hide it? Like that seems silly. Don't hide your stupid. Put it out in front for everybody to see.
Sure.
I mean, it's an elected body. How do we get rid of people that shouldn't be in office? You vote somebody else in. If this is fucked up, okay, I agree with you. Just for the sake of conversation. I'm not sure where I'm at on it, but I think actually, fundamentally, yeah, I agree with you. It's a fucked up thing for him to say. It's stupid. Somebody who would say that publicly, whether they believe it or not, just because for political value, probably shouldn't be running for office in the first place.
Okay.
All right, I'll agree with you on that.
Okay.
And so why...
I'm glad we met somewhere because it seemed like you were just way in a different world of our viewing on this.
But why would we try to shut that down? We should amplify that. The conversation should be shutting that. Yes, we should amplify that. Be like, do you look what this idiot said? Because the only way you get a different person in that place is to show how stupid the person that's there is.
I think it's been done. I mean, this story has been made national. I think it's been well pointed out that this was crazy and fucked up what this guy is saying and doing.
But I would argue that part of why this is national is because there's people that play this woke censorship regime bullshit. That the ACLU is telling the sheriff how he's allowed to talk to his constituents, and that the right has a play here with the way this played out. The ACLU should have been like, okay, man, if that's how you feel, we think that's wrong, and let's point out why that's wrong.
I don't think that falls within free speech limits.
Why not?
I agree. It's gray area. It's borderline, but it's borderline advocating for potential violence.
What potential violence? Look, okay, so...
I mean,
all right, I got a bone to pick before we go on.
All right.
I'm gonna interrupt. I got a bone to pick, because last week, or 2 weeks ago, we were talking about some other cop-related something or other,
right.
And I made the joke on, if a cop says it is implicitly a threat, and you were like, no. Do you recall that conversation? I don't remember the details.
Vaguely, yeah.
And it's like, well, that again, in my text response to you in this, it's like, well, this falls into my if a cop says it's a threat theory.
It's not just him saying it, but I think it also kind of plays into the culture that he is also kind of implementing. You lead by example. You know, I think if I was a deputy and didn't quite fully, agree with his thoughts, I'm probably still going to keep, working there and going along with this as to not get ostracized. To where I think this could also be seen as encouraging his deputies to think more like him as immigrants, as human locusts.
Okay, but again,
so I think it's perpetuating, I guess, it's not something that I think we should see out of a fucking sheriff.
Why in a political atmosphere would you want to silence him?
I mean, anybody saying this is bad. I don't know why it has to be like a cop and you're trying to turn it into a cop thing. I think it kind of adds to the egregiousness of it. It's somebody in that position that has that platform that is then saying this.
But I think my point is that to me that underscores why he shouldn't be the sheriff, right?
I would agree. Yeah.
So why would you tell him to shut up? Be like, speak up. Tell me more about how much you hate people.
I mean, to some, it could be viewed as being complacent with it by not pointing it out or pushing back against it. It could be seen as, the mayor of the town. It's like, oh, your sheriff is saying this, but you haven't called him in to say, hey, we need to talk about this.
I'm talking
You're
about
just like, well, he can say whatever he wants. Let the polls speak for themselves. If you guys don't like him, vote him out.
But I'm talking about the push to silence him on it or to have him delete it. Why would you have him delete it? You don't want him to delete it. You want it out there right front and center. Be like, this is who you are, is your sheriff. Look, you could feel however you want about immigration and all that kind of stuff. Do you want your
I don't
sheriff?
agree that a post like that should stay up on the official county police department website. If he wants to keep it up on his personal one, whatever. That's his personal fucking Facebook page or whatever. But this is official sheriff.
Okay, so
handle that he is saying this on. He is using that official handle to say this shit.
Okay, then
again,
your
he wants to say it on his own. Fine.
Your sheriff is a racist. Your sheriff is a silencer. Your sheriff wants to punish people who oppose him politically. Are you wanting to vote for that person? I can't make that argument if all that stuff goes away. It's all background. It's all I got to pull out the special internet time machine.
He's deleted this, everyone just forgets or something? Think just because it's not there, like no one's going to know anything about it? Deleting it just makes it all disappear?
Partially. It makes it harder for me to give the proof of how ridiculous this guy is if I'm running against him. Because what am I going to do? Okay, so if I'm the sheriff, if I'm the guy who's running for sheriff against him, first thing I'm going to do is screenshot it so he doesn't. So when he does delete it, I can say he deleted this because this is fucking bullshit for him to say, right? Well, wouldn't it be easier for me to make that argument in public when it's like, look what he is saying. Look what he is doing. Like, look at the things that he says that he wants to do. Is that who you want to be your sheriff?
Sure, they have a plethora of screen grabs of this before he deleted it.
Exactly. So as the person who keeps the screen grabs,
so then why would it matter
theirs?
Keeping it up?
Because
if you agree that there are screen grabs already there,
because
it needs to be there all the time.
Yes, because it needs to be clear that this is who you elected. This is what you asked for. And if you agree with this and you want your name signed off on this as a person who lives here, then this is you. You said that to everybody in the world. That's the argument.
I don't understand your view on it. It's almost like you're advocating for his ability to say this, but at the same time saying that people should know that he is saying this stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know how those two statements you just made are remotely contradictory. He should be able to say it, and everybody should know that he said it.
You got something else?
No.
Okay. Can we talk about something else?
I don't understand. Okay. I don't.
What more do you want to flesh out on this?
Because I don't understand what you're trying. Like, how do we get rid of idiots like this in politics if we don't let them say they're stupid out loud? How do we not make the point? How do we how do we not get the engagement to say, okay, you know what? I've decided that it's time to start fucking voting because in my name over and over and over again, this guy is doing shit in my name. because whether I like, I can't sit back and be like, well, I didn't vote for him. That doesn't count. That guy is your sheriff. He is acting in your name by default. That guy is your mayor. That guy is your this, that, and the other. That is your president. Whatever the fuck you want to, whatever level of elected office you want to be, that is yours. And they do things in your name. And you have to deal with the consequences. So don't shut them up when they're saying stupid shit. Point it out and get rid of them. That's my point. This article is great.
We've talked about how fucked up the recall process is.
Yeah, it is. We need to start voting people.
That's our recourse. So if they're saying this, then you can just recall them, right? Because that's an option. But it's not very valid of an option, depending on the election cycle. So if the motherfucker just got elected, you would still be saying, like, well, then the you guys need to get together and vote him out. You know, there's a way to do this, but he should be able to say what he wants and leave that up.
So the alternative is just squash it and forget about it, and then next election cycle,
no, it's not forget about it.
And, you know, we could continue just down this path of we have no real recourse for anything that ever fucking happens. We just deal with it. No, you make this point and you say, you know what? You're right. This recall process is fucked up. Let's elect people who will get this recall process into better shape, so that once we fuck up and vote for some idiot and realize we voted for some idiot, we have some option to do something about it. I'm advocating for actionable things that people can actually give, like point out the fact that we're electing idiots over and over and over again. And let's vote for smarter people. Let's vote for people who have some sort of like moral practicality to them, where they're going to say, you know what, it's not good for me in my process, but I'm going to put this thing into law that makes it easier for you to get rid of me if I fuck up. Because those are the kind of people that I want to vote for.
Okay.
And I think that a lot of people would want to vote for that. So let's lean into that instead of trying to squash it and get mad at them for doing it. Get rid of them. Figure out a way to get rid of them. Figure out a way to get rid of the next one that gets in there.
Okay.
Instead of just continuing the process.
Right.
I don't know. What else we got? Local stuff we kind of covered. We did. We touched on Kamala at the border for a second.
Yeah, I think we both said we didn't really see much on it. She was down there saying stuff.
It's the first time she went as vice president to the physical border itself.
Okay.
That's all. That's kind of my only takeaway from it. She had another interview this week.
The Oprah one?
No, that was last week. Was the Oprah one this week? I don't fucking know. Anyway, we were trying. So you're going to register. So, yeah, we got to figure out who you got to vote for. That's right. We haven't done that rabbit hole. All right, let's get weird then. I guess what else are we going to do?
No, I didn't have it pulled up.
Oh no. Hollarboo, everybody, go to hollarboo.com. Check out there. That's all the cool stuff going on there.
Kept seeing this a couple times. I didn't see what it was. Earth will have a temporary mini moon for 2 months.
I did see something about that. We got an asteroid or something coming through that's going to get close enough that we're going to grab it for a couple weeks.
I was wondering if it was like Venus or something, that it was just kind of going to look like a bright moon.
No, we got an asteroid that's going to come close enough that it's
actually
going to
an asteroid. Size of a school bus at 33 feet or 10 meters.
Enough to fuck us up if our math's a little fucked up right now.
It will be temporarily trapped in our planet's gravity and orbit the globe, but only for about 2 months.
I mean, that's a long time.
The Space Rock 2024 PT5.
That's a long time considering like the magnitude of things. I guess it's no time also considering the magnitude of things. That's a little scary.
Did I tell you the crazy story I heard on a podcast about them discovering, I think it was like a microplanet or something. They ended up calling it like Zuzve.
I know. You did not tell me about that. Maybe you did. I don't remember.
I think it was great podcast called Radio Lab. I think it was like one of their contributors was like, reading a nighttime story to his kid and like looked on he had like a solar system poster. And he saw some like little moon thing that said like Zuzve. He looked it up and he was like, couldn't find anything on it, but like happened to know a couple people that like used to work at NASA. I was asking them about it, and like one was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I think it like months later, it dawned on one of them that like, hold on, like maybe it's not Zuzve, and they were misreading like the 2 for a Z. So it ended up being, I guess that's how you name like different celestial things you find. It's like the year that it's made, and then some weird like letter number combination, because you're constantly finding things.
Right.
But they went through. It was kind of cool. They actually like went and talked about the process, and like this committee that names like moons or microplanets. I forget like what it got designated as.
Yeah, there was an interesting. I saw a Neil deGrasse Tyson where he had.
I think they actually were able to get it renamed Zuzve.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So there was a Neil deGrasse Tyson where he was talking about, it was on his podcast, and he was talking about how he accidentally made James Cameron change the director's cut of Titanic. And so he was talking about, he was watching Titanic, and the end scene of Titanic, it's what's her name, Rose or whatever, lays down on the door, and she looks up at the sky. So he's like, that's the wrong sky. He's like, I could tell from because apparently
you would see that from that far in the northern hemisphere.
Well, and so like apparently what they did for the movie is they took an image of the sky, whatever it was, of the night sky at the time, and they mirrored it, and so the full screen was one side of the sky, and then the other side of the sky was the same sky flipped over. He's like, that sky's wrong, and so being Neil deGrasse Tyson, he goes, well, let me figure out what it was, and he makes some phone calls and does some shit and gets an image of what it's supposed to be. And made some comment about it, and ended up coming across James Cameron's desk, and he calls him up, and so Tyson's talking about how I was like, James Cameron called me. He's like, so what was it supposed to look like? And he's like, oh well, I looked it up, and here's what it is. And it ended up being like, actually, I think what the clip was an ad for one of those things where you can get your anniversary. You can put your anniversary in, and it'll give you the night sky on your anniversary.
I never heard of that.
Yeah, it's like a company that does it, and it's like you can put a date in, and it'll give you. You put a date in a location, it'll give you what it would look like if you could see the sky.
Sounds easily made up. Yeah, that's what it looked like.
Yeah.
30 years ago.
Well,
we promised.
You got Neil deGrasse Tyson's vouching for it, so I'm gonna give him credit.
That's true.
And so anyway, and it happened to be like when as all this kind of transpired, it happened to be coming up to when Cameron was starting to work on his 20th anniversary director's cut of the movie. And so they went in and re-edited it and put the correct sky in.
That's neat.
So that's that. So one more. Let's go.
Yeah. I don't think we talked about this. I saw the story before. There was a Detroit judge. I guess there was like a school trip that came in, and apparently like this young like high school girl like fell asleep and was being like disrespectful. He put her in jail for a day. But then ended up getting reprimanded, I guess, by like the superior judge. So he's now got knocked down. He was working on like felony cases, but he's now got knocked down to like traffic court, basically. But he's been apologetic about it.
So on a field trip, they went to watch court in session.
She think so, or just kind of go maybe like learn about the court. I don't know if they were actually there while court was going on, but I guess he was at least sitting on the bench, either talking to him about what he does and how the court system works, or whatever.
Put her in contempt and spent a night in jail.
Yeah, but apparently, I guess he got on to her for like falling asleep. But then I guess when he was confronting her, apparently she started being disrespectful. So he
fell into judge mode and put her in contempt. I get it. Okay.
Yeah, but I think she was like 16 or something. So he definitely like has stretched his judicial abilities. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of shitty.
So he got demoted. Yeah. Yeah, funny. I've seen like court cases with him before. It seemed like a good judge, but I don't know if he was having a bad day and just decided
to try not hosting field trips anymore.
Try to teach her a lesson. He ended up getting taught a lesson himself.
Ooh, that's a good little back and forth. I like that. Yeah. Very nice. All right, people, that's the show. Woo, we did it. We did a show. We survived. I didn't have to get my inflatable boat out to get down the street tonight, so it's a win all around. We're Almost Agreement at gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Go to the website, almostagreement.com. While you're there, check out Hollerboo. Hollerboo 24 is coming up in less than a month. October 26th, we're going to have a soapbox derby. We're going to have a street fair. We're going to have a rock and roll concert. It's going to be a good old time down there in Happy Holler. Come check it out. Almost Agreement is on all your favorite podcast providers. Hit them up. Give us a like, share a friend, follow, 5-star review, whatever you can. Text it to your friends. Do what you can to help us get the word out. We're going to keep doing shows, and we're going to keep talking to people. And we will talk to you guys soon. Bye.